right, y'all. We get praise, esteem, and honor to Abba and Shamayim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. So let's pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you. But you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? All esteem and praise to Abba and Shamayim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Shalom, Eric, man. Let's pick this up in Ecclesiastes 12 and 9. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order in many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, even that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the master of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. Shalom, Joseph. So, we got some things to deal with. But I want to deal with this thing here because we were talking about this before we came on here a couple hours ago. And it's really just this one particular word and what it means. So come over here to Luke chapter 1. And verse 5. I'm not really going to focus on what the conversation was about because that's irrelevant to the course I want to look at. I just want to look at the definition of one particular word and then take off from there. Then with a couple things that we had in Proverbs and expand out some more. Luke chapter 1, verse 5. There was in the day, Shalom, Mika. There was in the days of Herod, the Malik of Yehuda, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abia, and his wife of the daughters of Aaron, her name Elizabeth. They were both righteous before Elohim, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord, blameless. They had no child because that Elizabeth was barren, and that they were not, Shalom, Brother Robert, and now they were well stricken in years. It came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before Elohim in the order of his course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of Yahuwah. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. There appeared unto him Malachim of Yahuwah standing on the right side of the altar of incense. When Zacharias saw, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the Malachim said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias. What's that, Izzo? For your prayer is heard, and your wife Elizabeth shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name John. And you shall have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of Yahuwah, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, even from his mother's womb. And many of the sons of Yasharal shall be turned to Yahuwah their Elohim. And he shall go before him in the Ruach and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the sons, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepare a Yahuwah. Zechariah said unto the Malachim, Whereby shall I know this? For I'm an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. And the Malachim answered and said unto him, I am Gabriel that stand in the presence of Elohim. I am sent unto you to show you these glad tidings. Now, we've been talking about glad tidings, and this is one of the things, Shalom, Brother Ernest, that the preacher is supposed to make known. Now, I'm going to give you this Greek word for glad tidings real fast, and then we're going to move on. And because the word that I want the definition of, it pertains to glad tidings. We've mentioned the Hebrew word in the course of what we've been looking at. So there's that. So of course here, glad tidings is your angelizo, to bring good news, to announce glad tidings. You know, the use in the Old Testament of any kind of good news, joyful tidings of God's kindness, in particular of Messianic blessings. And the New Testament used especially of the glad tidings of the coming kingdom, so on and so forth. Now, are y'all familiar to any passages in the Old Testament that refer to John the Baptist? And get the lights up on YouTube, by the way. Does anybody know any passages in the Old Testament that refer to John the Baptist? Anybody? I'll give you a couple. Come over here to Malachi chapter 3. Because again, he said he's coming to show him these glad tidings as it pertains to John the Baptist. Obviously, this is good news because he's going to have a son. And then secondly, obviously, this is good news because it relates to something that pertains to the coming of Mashiach, or to the Savior, to the Redeemer of the house of Yahshua. So Malachi chapter 3 and verse 1, that would be correct, sir. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom you seek, and shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Yahuwah of hosts. Now, most of you probably know Isaiah 40, but nevertheless. Notice that he said he will send his messenger. Just for those of you who don't know what a messenger is, again, that is the word that you heard. That is malak. That is a messenger. That is a representative. That is meme, lamad, aleph, and kav. This is a messenger, a representative, also an angel or a theophanic angel. It also could be a prophet, priest, or teacher, ambassador, so on and so forth. Now he says that he will prepare, the messenger that he sends is going to prepare the way before him. Remember, because the preacher was wise, he's going to seek out acceptable words, even words of truth, and set in order many proverbs. So let's begin the process of setting these things in order. Let's go to John chapter 1. One and 19. You know, it's quote unquote, you know, New Year's on the what's this calendar called? The Gregorian calendar. And you know, and y'all know this, man. Israelites, it just irritate me to no end when this stuff come around. I was just telling about this here earlier, like, and I've said to y'all this before several times. Where is the uproar when the Chinese New Year come around? Why you don't jump up and down when the Lunar New Year come around for the Arabs? You say nothing. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason why we looked at some of these different cultures a few weeks back, things of that sort, so you can understand that everybody lived in their own bubble. You know what I'm talking about? Like no other societies cared if your New Year was any bib. That didn't mean anything to them. Nor did the Israelites care. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you do. Now I understand that the Gregorian calendar New Year gets focused on because you live here. But I was telling them, buddy, is, and you have to ask yourself this question if you participate in that. How many people have you won from a Facebook post? How many people have came to you and say, yeah, you know, I stopped observing New Year's and Christmas because of the stuff you was posting? Because that junk don't happen. You know what I'm saying? Because that's you're more so, as they like to say in politics, appealing to your base. The only people who are going to interact with that are people who already agree with it. What I would tell him is, it's better to lead with Yahuwah. The New Year stuff, that's light. But you'd have to ask yourself, somebody who's participating in New Year's probably already don't serve Yahuwah anyway. So why wouldn't you take that as an opportunity to reflect the good news? I'm saying that because we fall into the same repeated trap of doing the same thing because this is what everybody say, you got to wake them up. What are you waking them up to? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to ask yourself this question. Okay, you know, this ain't our New Year's, it's their New Year's. I don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? I don't care that these people want to go outside and watch a ball drop. I don't care that they want to shoot firecrackers. I don't care if they want to get drunk, party, or none of that, because those are people who are outside the house. He already dealing with them. I don't care. Not enough to be frustrated by it and to do all this stuff. Like, come on, man. You got dudes been in the word 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, bro. You still talking about this ain't the New Year's. How was it New Year's in the middle of winter? Who cares? It's their New Year's. Let them have it. Didn't the man tell you, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still? He that is filthy, let him be filthy still? Let them people be what it is that they be. The reason why I say that is because we put so much focus on waking people up, but it's people who are inside the house and they wicked as hell and don't nobody say nothing. You ain't trying to wake them up. You not trying to. That's why the junk irritates me, to be 100% honest with you. Because you know that these dudes is in the house doing all manner of foul stuff, defiling this man's house, and you say nothing. Unless it's somebody whose doctrine you don't agree with, or it's somebody you don't like. Shalom, Barry, man. Like, nah, man, I don't respect that. Because what do you expect from sinners? Yes, it was, Nisha. That's what I've actually started with, and we're gonna go back to it. You know what I'm saying? That's just me personally. Let me show you this verse in Corinthians while I'm saying this. What is 1 Corinthians 5? Shalom, Brother Marcus, man. Yeah, we spin it off into this John chapter 1 and 19 from Malachi 3. What is it that I want, man? Verse 9. 1 Corinthians 5 and 9. He said, I wrote unto you in the epistle not to keep company with fornicators, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous or extortioners, or with the idolaters, for then you must needs go out of the world. So this man has already told you that. Y'all know if you go outside, you're going to be around all manner of sinners. If you had to avoid sinners, you'd have to die. Shalom, Brother Mark. Or you'd have to leave this present world. But I've now written unto you not to keep company with if any man that is called a brother. Pause. What is a man who will be called a brother? Let's just validate that with Mark chapter 3. Mark chapter 3, verse 31. There came then his brethren and his mother standing without, sent unto him, calling him. The multitude sat about him, and they said unto him, Behold, your mother and your brethren without seek for you. And he answered them, saying, Who is my mother or my brethren? He looked round about on them which sat about him and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of Elohim, the same is my brother, my sister, and mother. So listen, come back to 1 Corinthians 5. So if you call yourself a brother, that means you say you keep the instructions of God. You do the will of God. You walk in Kadah. You love your neighbors. You love yourself. And you love Yahuwah with all your heart, strength, might, and soul. Now, verse 11, 1 Corinthians 5 again. But now I've written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such a one, no, not to eat. Now, I'm going to be laser specific because I want to be. And it's quite necessary. And we're going to look at all of these things so there's no doubt in your mind. What does it mean to keep company? That is soon a gunami, that is to keep company with, to be an intimate one with, to be together, to associate with. Pause. Psalms 1 and 1. Look what he tell you there. I got two of them for you. Hold on. Come over here to Psalms 1 and 1. I got another one in Psalm. Because I'm going to show you how hypocritical these niggas is. I think it's Psalm 1 and then Psalms 101. I'm going to show you how hypocritical these niggas is. And this is why you hear me say that I hate these niggas. You know what I'm talking about? Because they've been ranting and raving all week about New Year's. But you sit down and fellowship with known fornicators, known idolaters, known railers. Known. You know these people on this type of time. And you don't say nothing to them. But you want to castigate somebody because they want to celebrate the day of Chronos. Well, guess what? If he's a Roman living as a Roman, then let him be unjust. What business is that to you when you got people in the house living sour? This is my point. Psalms 1 and 1. I'll be there in a second. Now, this is for you to weigh and consider. You ain't got to like it. You ain't got to agree with it. I don't really give a damn. You know what I'm talking about? But one thing I can tell you, if this book say in your law, in Deuteronomy chapter 24, and about verse 15, 16, somewhere in there, that man say you got to have a just weight and a just balance. And to have not have one is an abomination. Let me read that and put it on record. Somebody think I'm just making this up. Psalms 1:1. Baruch is the man that walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. Now this man say stand in the way is to take your place amongst in the way of life for sinners. Why would you do that? This man that told you in your law not to do. He said you blessed if you don't do that. Deuteronomy 24:15. Deuteronomy 24:15. It's 25, my apologies. Deuteronomy 25:13. Deuteronomy 25:13. Now listen what he say. You shall not have in your bag diverse weights, a great and a small. You shall not have in your house diverse measures, a great and a small. You shall have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure. You shall have, that your days may be lengthened in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim give you. For all that do such things and all that do unrighteously are an abomination unto Yahuwah your Elohim. What does it mean to have a just weight and a perfect one at that? What is he communicating with you? This is what your law say now. This is not my personal opinion. Now, you know justice, Sadah. When you're dealing with perfect, that is salam. Shalom is complete, safe, perfect, whole, complete, finished, safe, unharmed, a covenant of peace of mind. I mean, you got to have a complete and perfect measure. Now, I'm going to show you that what the Lord said so you can get some more insight on that in just a minute. When he told you what to have in a righteous measure is a father. And, of course, that's a receptacle for measuring or holding of that amount. Come over here to Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. Joanne, get somewhere and sit down. Matthew 5:43, actually. Because I think a lot of rules would be shocked at the indifference that a lot of your forefathers would have had with people with their particular customs in the land that they were in. They would have been grossly and greatly indifferent. You know what I'm saying? They genuinely wouldn't have cared. You know what I'm saying? If they were not preachers, they wouldn't have cared because they would have looked at it as, that's none of my business. Matthew 5:43. You have heard that it has been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies and bless them that curse you and do good to them that hate you and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the sons of your Abba, which is in Shamahim, for he maketh sun to rise on the evil and on the good and send the rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be you therefore perfect, even as your Abba, which is in Shamahim, is perfect. You see how he just described to you a just weight and a just measure? Do you see how he just did that? That was not an unjust weight and an unjust measure. This is a righteous meeting out. But we don't pay attention to that type of stuff because you're not really trying to follow his instructions to actually manifest his character. You know what I'm talking about? Because everybody just want to be right. They don't want to get right. They just want to be right. Let's come back to 1 Corinthians 5:11. Dwayne Jamal, ain't nothing wrong with you. Now, what is a fornicator? That is pornos. A man who prostitutes his body to another lust for hire. A male prostitute. A man who indulges in unlawful sexual intercourse. A fornicator. Also, a debauchee. A whoremonger. So how can you sit around with dudes and you know they participate in illicit sexual activity in the midst of the assembly, but you worry about somebody who celebrated New Year's? How that work? You don't see how that's an unjust weight and an unjust measure? You know this man is committing anything that's listed in Leviticus 20 for him not to do. You know he doing it. You say nothing to him. But you want to regulate these holidays. These people say, y'all don't see the hypocrisy in that? You don't see why people don't take us seriously when you come with the word? Do you see how you call this man's name to be blasphemed among the Gentiles? See, it's some people, they're going to unsubscribe after hearing this type of conversation because you're going to be pierced in your heart because you know you're a wicked, dirty-faced bastard. The only thing you care about is proving somebody wrong, and in your mind, you talking about you're going to wake them up to the truth, but once they come to the word, they're going to be twice as wicked as they was before they got in it because you didn't give them any godliness with your information. You know what I'm talking about? You just gave them some instructions in a lineage, and you thought that was going to perfect them. That means God ain't hired you. You need to sit down and get out the way. That means you don't know nothing about being no carpenter. You don't know nothing about being no brick mason. You don't know nothing about being no framer. You don't know nothing about being a master workman as it pertains to building the house of Elohim. Why is you on the job site? Because you're not giving the people knowledge and understanding like we read last week that he said that he would give. Because he said he would give ra'as of his own heart. That's after Yahuwah's heart. That means they got the mind God got, to make sure that the people get the knowledge of God and the understanding of God so that the people can be converted and they could be healed. I literally just seen a dude the other day say, how you going to be able to say who's Yahuwah's and who's ain't? Nigga, the book tell you. The book tell you. It ain't hard to tell. I'm telling you, man, examine the text, man. It is not hard to tell who is of God and who is not. It's not hard to tell. If you pay attention to what the man said and you look for what the man told you to look for, you can be able to tell. Well, what is it to be covetous? And we hold in Luke chapter 1, John chapter 1. I think we're in Luke 1 and 19, John 1 and 19, Malachi 3 and 1. Well, what is it to be covetous? Pleocantes, one eager to have more, especially what belongs to others, greedy of gain, covetous, also a defrauder. Well, what is an idolater? And I know y'all know what an idolater is. This is for accuracy purposes only. Idolatrace, a worshiper of a false god, an idolater, or a covetous man as a worshiper of mammon. Peace, Brother Omar. Well, what is a railer? That is laudoros. That is a railer, a reviler, somebody who is prone to mischief and abusive, i.e. a blackguard, a railer. You like to go off on people. I'll give you the English definition of railer if that wasn't very clear for you. English definition of railer is someone who uses harsh, insolent, or abusive language to scold or revile someone. It comes from the word rail and the suffix. It is the earliest known use of the word is in the Middle English period of 1150 to 1500. Scripturally, it means to use reproachful or insolent language. Means to scold, a critic, a castigator, a nitpicker. Don't be a nitpicker. Or dishonorable speech. What's the next thing we got here? What is it to be a drunkard? Obviously, that's self-explanatory. And that is methos. That is someone who is tipsy, a sot, a drunkard. You're intoxicated. Now, what is it to be an extortioner? That is a harpax. That is a robber, someone who is rapacious, someone who is ravenous. What is it to be rapacious? Because I don't think I've ever seen that word in all my days. And I've seen a lot of words. Rapacious is someone who is aggressively greedy. Aggressively greedy. Someone who's also predatory. Synonyms for this word is gluttonous, ravenous, and voracious. He said these type of people, you ain't even supposed to be around. You ain't supposed to have no dealings with. If he called himself a brother. So again, I'll read 1 Corinthians 5:11 again. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such a one, know not to eat. For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do you not judge them that are within? But them that are without, Elohim judge. Therefore put away from among yourselves that wicked person. You know how many Israelites don't do that? You know how many Israelites are railers that use reproachful and dishonorable speech to people on a regular basis? Because the nigga said something you don't like, because the nigga said something you don't agree with, and you think that it's acceptable for you to cuss them out and do this, that, there, and the third. Man, that ain't right before God. And he said, if anybody who called themselves a brother, he said, don't fool with them. But notice what he said, right? Ain't you supposed to judge them that are within? God judge those that are without. So why you give a damn about them people keeping doggone New Year's on January 1st and you not judging the people who within the house and they doing all manner of ungodliness and you say nothing. And you say nothing. But you got 1,000,001 posts by this, that, there, and the third. And see, I ain't talking about making posts talking about Israel need to do this because that's some more passive-aggressive sucker stuff too. You know what I'm talking about? You're really just supposed to make mention on what it is and what it ain't and let the sword fall where it falls. You know what I'm talking about? But see, most of the time, shalom, Sister Regina, we don't be wanting to do that because niggas definitely don't be right. Indeed, Omar, the right to the judgment start at the house of Elohim, which you should know that from the book of Ezekiel. You know what I'm talking about? That man, let me show you that since I mentioned it. Ezekiel chapter 9. Then we'll get back to John 1:19 because I don't want to go too far off. But that just irritates me because these niggas only do this when New Year's, Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas roll around. You know what I'm saying? You niggas are so agitated with what these people got going on, but you're not agitated with all the wicked stuff you see with niggas who say they brothers on a regular basis. Like at the end of the day, what do you expect from sinners and what are you waking them up from? Shalom, 10K, because if you ain't waking them up to righteousness through faith in the Son of God, then what did you wake them up to? Nigga, they still sleep. Ezekiel chapter 9 and 4. And Yahuwah said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in my hearing, go after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have you pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men, which were before the house. See, when you look at these older men, these people who's supposed to be showing us what to do, they the ones getting us killed. They the ones leading us wrong. Let me show you that again in the book of Isaiah, man, for another witness. Most of these dudes who you look at talking about leaders and this, that, there, and the third, they're wicked as hell. Well, I want that, man. Screw it, man. 3 and 1. Isaiah 3 and 1. I'm sorry. Isaiah 3 and 1. For behold, the Lord, Yahuwah of hosts, do take away from Jerusalem and from Yehudah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, the mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet, the prudent and the ancient, the captain of the 50 and the honorable man, and the counselor, the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. And I will give children to their princes, and babes shall rule over them. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. And when a man shall take hold of his brother and of his house of his father, you have clothing, be your ruler, let this ruin be under your hand. And that day he shall swear, saying, I will not be a healer, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. For Jerusalem is ruined, and Yehudah is fallen, because the tongue and their doings are against Yahuwah to provoke the eyes of his esteem. To show if their countenance do witness against them, they declare their sin is silent, they hide it not. And woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil to themselves. Say you to the righteous that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead you cause you to err and destroy the way of your path. Now he letting you know the people who guiding you, and he gave you a long list of a different section of people, and they destroying you, and you love it. And you love it. You know, we were talking about last week how he say love cover a multitude of sins. See, the problem is that our people genuinely believe that knowing you are Israelite and keeping the law is covering a multitude of your sins, and they don't. And I don't care who don't like it. You can holler at me anytime you want, and we could talk about it. And I mean that sincerely. I don't say that out of no arrogance, no pride, no disrespect, no rudeness, or nothing. I'm telling you, we could go through this book and you won't see not a single solitary person who the law covered their sins. You won't find it. And you ain't going to find it with no sacrifices or no bulls and goats, no turtle doves or anything of the sort. You know what I'm talking about? See, the thing is, the only thing that's going to get you covered is the love of Yahuwah, and we don't want that. See, now we'd have to get to the point of why don't you want the love of God in your life? Most of the time we don't want it because you don't want to make the requisite sacrifices that are required. Psalm 50 tell you that. You know, gather my saints together who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. See, everybody wants a lot of things, but you don't want to make the sacrifices necessary in order to get them. You know what I'm saying? Everybody think they deserve this and they deserve that, but don't nobody deserve nothing but death, to be 100% honest with you. I'm talking about it as far as it pertains to dealing with the Almighty. That's the only thing we deserve. You know why? Because of all of us have done some things that would make us worthy of death. I'm not talking about worthy of death in the eyesight of man. I ain't talking about what man deems. I'm talking about in the eyesight of the Almighty Yahuwah. That's who I'm talking about. Because I don't give a damn what man think or say, for that matter. You know what I'm talking about? Don't care. Because unless that man got the spirit of God in him to judge justly and righteously, then he ain't talking about nothing. Now it's quote unquote 2025, and niggas is still on the same goofy type of time that you've been on since I've been in the word, man. I'm coming up on 16 years. You niggas ain't tired of talking about some goddamn New Year's every year? You niggas ain't focused on what can be done to make sure those who have came to the word actually receive the life-giving gift of the Ruach HaKodesh and could be shining lights amongst these people, that light that you're emitting would make them want to come to the word versus you talking about how this ain't the new year because it's wintertime. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, you ain't tired of that yet? Like, who is this benefiting? You have to ask yourself a question. If you doing something and it ain't working, and it don't benefit nobody, why would you keep doing it? And the reason why I say this is because I've been came to this conclusion. I've told you that before. Like, I don't post no word on no Facebook like that. You know why? Ain't nobody ever came and say, boy, the post you dropped just made me want to get on some word. Never happened. This man didn't say faith come by posting. That man say faith came by hearing and hearing by the word, man. People got to hear the word be preached. That thing got to sit back. It got to go in their ears and rest in their inward man. Most of the time when you posting stuff, people can't understand that. When you talking about word, we think we doing something with this here, man. I ain't never been one to be posting no junk about no goddamn New Year's, man. I don't care nothing about that. The reason why I mention this here in the context, imagine if we would have sat on here today and just talk about how all these wicked people celebrate New Year's and talk about how New Year's is about chronos. Y'all already know that for the most part. Say one of my friends said Happy New Year. I just said thank you and say, that's all you got to say. You act like these people can look at you and tell, oh, they New Year's in the bed. The people don't know, they don't care. People just trying to be courteous, man. You know what I'm saying? People just trying to be hospitable, if you would. But you niggas so doggone rude and disrespectful because you looking to pick an argument and you ain't never thought, what is it that I can say or do that it could exhibit the greatness, mercy, and compassion of my God to where they would be like, oh, I'm intrigued. Nevertheless, let's come on back to John chapter 1, verse 19. It say people dying all around, and they posting about New Year, celebrating a different month and a season in there, because that's all you doing. Like I told the brother, I say, do y'all talk about the Chinese New Year that they gonna be celebrating next month? Are you gonna be talking about that? I know about the Chinese New Year because I watch NBA basketball, and NBA basketball celebrates the Chinese New Year every year. And most of these sneaker companies make Chinese New Year sneakers for these players every year. You gonna be around here talking about the Arabs' New Year? What about the Celtic New Year? The Egyptians had a different New Year also. You gonna talk about that one? You only want to talk about Mr. Charlie's New Year. You know why? Because you've elevated Mr. Charlie to a place in your heart that he should not be. You've made him a god and you don't even realize that because you only want to speak on the things that he's doing. Mr. Charlie is not the only culture on the four corners of the earth. Mr. Charlie does not set the mandate for what the rest of the world does. The only reason why you see the rest of the world even do things pertaining to New Year's is because they do business with these people. But when you go into these people's countries and their societies, they got their own thing going on. I know they don't push it out there like that. It's just like in the UK, they got Boxing Day. They don't celebrate Christmas. They got something called Boxing Day. And they've always done it. It's similar to Christmas, but they don't celebrate Christmas like that. This is why you have to pay attention to other cultures and societies, man. The whole world does not do what America does, contrary to popular belief. The whole world don't do that. They got their own customs, their own calendars, and their own gods, and their own way of doing things. They genuinely do. Like you don't got Chinese people waiting on the Gregorian calendar New Year. Them people waiting for their New Year. You don't understand that because you don't have a culture and you don't have a way of life. So you assume that everybody is like you too. And they're not. They're not. And if you actually talk to people from other nationalities and races, you would know this. You know what I'm talking about? If you actually took the time to actually be around different groups of people, you would know that they have different customs. They have different ways. But let me get that Psalms 101. I almost forgot it from that Psalms 1 and 1. Let me get this Psalm 101, man. Praise Yahuwah. I almost forgot, but he brought it back to mind. I'll read the whole Psalms. Psalms 101. Like you literally had about probably close to 100 people probably got ran over this morning. They're saying it's a terrorist attack. I don't know about that. That's just me personally. As more information come out, you know, the official story is starting to look skeptical. And mainly, and I think you did hear Manny say that, Mama Steph. The dog, he from there. And he had made mention that they have something before this information came out. He had made mention that on the French Quarter, leading up to Bourbon Street, he said they have a barrier system because he wanted to know how did Buddy get over there to be able to run these people over. And conveniently, the barrier system wasn't there because they were working on it to get it ready for the Super Bowl. And this man was able to go around a police car and go up a sidewalk and just run people over. Happened to be an Arab, at least a Muslim. I don't know if he was 100% Arabic. Islamic flag in his car. Allegedly 3-4 people dropping IEDs that didn't explode. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He had told me that earlier, and I had read it from what's in the ESPN story. ESPN said that the barrier hold on, let me find it. Where is that? Because these white folks mad because they postponed this football game. And that's They said the vehicle ran into the crowd of people on Bourbon Street. After it came to a stop, the driver, identified as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from Texas, emerged from the truck and opened fire on responding officers. They returned fire, and he was killed. They say he drove onto the sidewalk, going around a police car that was positioned to block vehicular traffic and protect Bourbon Street revelers. A barrier system designed to prevent vehicle attacks was undergoing repairs in preparation for the Super Bowl, which is being played in the city in February. Manny said that barrier was out there last week. You know what I'm saying? And then now, because that don't make sense to have something like that going for repairs and you knew you was going to have people out there on the first. That's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? You would think you would just have that out there tonight and then send it off for repairs after that. That's just me. We say working with an Ethiopian last year. He said last year it was 2015 in Ethiopia. But looking it up, it was according to the guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Say they messing up the People's Circus and Peanuts. You know, listen, let me read to y'all who Kronos is. Absolutely. And that's real though, Omar, because we don't realize that, because obviously if you live in America, you don't go to other countries on a regular basis. So you're not hip to how these people actually live in their land. And the reason why I'm going to read you this about Kronos is this is something we done discussed before. The people who rule the world worship the gods of antiquity. Shalom, Brother Shaul. And these gods require sacrifices of blood. And whether you believe in these gods or not, it doesn't matter because they do. And I'm not talking about no Illuminati sacrifices and all that other goofy stuff that niggas get on the internet and talking about. I'm talking about actual sacrifices of real blood, of real human life. If you study ancient antiquity and you study these gods, a lot of these gods require blood. And the people who worship these gods are willing to sacrifice blood, and they don't care how they go about it. They don't care how they have to make it look. It doesn't matter if you believe it, they do. And it's just that simple. And Kronos, in the ancient Greek religion and mythology, Kronos was the leader and the youngest of the first generation of the Titans, the divine descendants of the primordial Gaia, who is known as Mother Earth, and Uranus, Father Sky. He overthrew his father and ruled during the mythological Golden Age until he was overthrown by his son Zeus and imprisoned in Tartarus, according to Plato. However, the deities Phorakris, Kronos, and Rhea were the eldest children of Oceanus and Teth. Kronos is usually depicted with a harp and a sickle, the instrument that he used to castrate and dispose of Uranus, his father. In Athens, on the 12th day of Attic, the month of Hecatobion, a festival called Chronia was held in honor of Kronos to celebrate the harvest, suggesting that as a result of his association with virtuous Golden Age, Kronos continued to preside as a patron of the harvest. Kronos was also identified in classical antiquity with the Roman deity of Saturn. In the ancient myth of Hesiod's Theogony, Kronos envied the power of his father Uranus, the ruler of the universe. Uranus drew the enmity of Kronos' mother, Gaia, when he hid the gigantic youngest children of Gaia, the hundred-handed Hecatonocheires and the one-eyed Cyclops in Tartarus. So they would not see the light. Gaia created a great stone sickle and gathered together Kronos and his brothers to persuade them to castrate Uranus. Now, hold on. He said, yeah, they were bold in the ancient. They were worshiping these gods broad day. Absolutely. Absolutely they did. And they didn't have a reason not to do it. Now, another one in Kronos, this is because there's two Kronoses. I read you the first one. Here's the second. He is the god of time or father time in Greek mythology. And that was a remember because when I read you those different names of Chronos, it was different spellings, and I probably should have specified that, so that's my fault. The first one we read was CHRONOS. This one here has a CHRONUS, and he's the personification of time in Greek mythology, which is also discussed in the pre-Socratic philosophy and later literature. He's frequently confused with or purposely perhaps consciously identified with the Titan Chronos in antiquity due to the similarity of names. The identification became more widespread during the Renaissance, giving rise to the iconography of Father Time wielding the harvesting seed. Yeah, Janus is about the same. I'm going to get to that one in a second. Because, they deal with, it's different deities, so we got to look at all of them. Greco-Roman mosaics depicted Chronos as a man turning the zodiac wheel. He is comparable to the deity Ion as a symbol of cyclical time. He is usually portrayed as an old callous man with a thick gray beard, personifying the destructive and stifling aspects of time. In the Orphic tradition, the unaging Chronos was engendered by earth and water, produced by aether, chaos, and an egg. The egg produced the hermaphroditic god Phanes, who gave birth to the first generation of gods and is the ultimate creator of the cosmos. Phersides of Syros in his lost Hippontykos, the seven recesses around 6th century BC, claimed that there were three eternal principles: Chronos, Zos, which is Zeus, and Seathone, or the Chthonic. The semen of Chronos was placed in the recesses of the earth and produced the first generation of gods. See, when you're dealing with information of this sort, especially to answer your question, Barry, it's never just one god per se. It can be multiple different gods for the personification of the same thing. Most Israelites are only going to talk about Janus, just because Janus in January. But when you look at these cultures, they might have dealt with them all. That's why when you hear people say Father Time is undefeated, they're really referring to that deity. That's where that saying comes from. Even when people say the football gods, the basketball gods, that's actually a reference to Nike, who we better know is Nike, because that was the goddess of sport and competition and victory. You know what I'm talking about? This is how these gods are referenced and personified in modern times. And let's mention here Janus, who is the two-faced god that everybody is more familiar with on this particular day. In the ancient Roman religion, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces. The month of January is named for Janus. According to ancient Roman farmers' almanacs, Juno was mistaken as the tutelary deity of the month of January, but Juno is the tutelary deity of the month of June. His parents are Terra and Callias. His siblings are Saturn and Ops. His consort is Vanilia and Jortunia. His children are Canis, Aethiox, Olistine, Tibernius, and Fontius. He is a primordial deity, which means that this is a first generation of god and goddesses in Greek mythology. These deities represented the fundamental forces and physical foundations of the world and were not actively worshipped, as they, for the most part, were not given human characteristics, but they were instead personifications of places of abstract concepts. Hold on. Hesiod in his Theogony considers the first beings after chaos to be Erebus, Gaia, Tartarus, Eros, Nyx, Gaia, and Uranus, in turn to give birth to the Titans, the Cyclops. The Titans, Kronos and Rhea, then gave birth to the generation of Olympians, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hatia, Hera, Demeter. They overthrew the Titans, with the reign of Zeus marking the end of the period of warfare and the usurpation among the gods. Now, as you can see, they'll talk about Janus, but you see, Janus being a primordial deity took us back to the first two deities named Chronos that we mentioned, because these things are intertwined. The Romans didn't have their own god pantheon. The Romans just changed the name of the Greek gods and their pantheon. And the Greeks didn't do nothing but borrow from the Egyptians and the Sumerians and the Babylonians with their pantheon. You know what I'm talking about? This is all these people have done. So when you see Roman stuff, you don't want to look at anything Roman and just omit anything Greek because they're one and the same. They're intertwined. They're intertwined. But most of these gentlemen who look at these type of things because they do not look at humanities, they don't study those type of things really in depth. They only look at the surface information to run up on somebody who's celebrating New Year's and say, see, this is Janus. They can't give people an in-depth understanding of ancient society and history to really understand the concept of what it is that they're participating in from an educational standpoint, because they don't have a desire to educate anyone on anything. They just have a desire to be right. And it's very dangerous. Nevertheless, Janus presided over the beginning and ending of conflict and hence war and peace. The gates of a building in Rome named after him, not a temple as it is often called, but an open enclosure with gates at each end, were open in time of war and closed to mark the arrival of peace. As a god of transitions, he had functions pertaining to birth and journeys in exchange, and as an association with Partunus, a similar harbor and gateway god, he was concerned with traveling, trading, and shipping. Janus had no flamen or specialized priest assigned to him, but the king of the sacred rites himself carried out his ceremonies. Janus had a ubiquitous presence in religious ceremonies throughout the year, and as such, Janus was ritually invoked at the beginning of each ceremony, regardless of the main deity honored on any particular occasion. While the ancient Greeks had no known equivalent to Janus, there is considerable overlap with the Colsons of the Etruscan pantheon. The Colsons is an Etruscan deity known from 4 inscriptions, a variety of iconographical material, which includes coins, statuettes, sarcophagus. Oh, no, this is just basic information, no book specific. Rendered as a male deity with 2 faces, at least 2 statuettes depicting him having been found in close association with city gates. So even when you look at what Janus is, Janus doesn't even really represent the new year as many people have been told. You know what I'm talking about? He's a guarder of the gates, if you would. He participates in a different type of deal. But let's get back on to let me look at the theology. Say, while the fundamental nature of Janus is debated, most modern scholars rule the god's function as being seen as organized around a single principle, presiding over all beginnings and transitions, whether abstract, concrete, sacred, or profane. Interpretations concerning the god's fundamental nature either limit this to general function, to emphasize a concrete or particular aspect of it, identifying him with the light, the sun, the moon, time, movement, the year, doorways, and bridges, or else see in the god a sort of cosmological principle, interpreting him as a Uranic deity. Yes, sir. So basically what you see with Janus is a year is just a part of it, but it's not the main focus, which is why he would be the god over births, because it's beginnings and things of this nature. You know what I'm saying? But you have to look into these things before you repeat them. You know what I'm saying? Because you might run across somebody who know about this stuff more than you, and then you'll be embarrassed. Psalms 101. Psalms 101 and 1. Still holding John 1 and 19, Luke 1 and 19, Malachi 3 and 1. How Mama Steph just put that. I can't even put this on what's the name for you. But Mama Steph just shared a piece of information. Let me read that for you. I appreciate it. Who was Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and ends? January can be a day of regret and reflection. Did I really need that 5th glass of bubbly last night? This is from The Conversation, by the way. Author is Callian Davenport, lecturer in Roman history, Art Decorative research of fellow at Mackinac University. Let me just get straight. He's the doorkeeper of the heavens. In Roman mythology, Janus was the king of Latium, a region of central Italy, who had his palace on Jaconicum Hill on the western bank of the river Tiber. According to the Roman intellectual Marcubius, Janus was given the divine honors on account of his own religious devotion as he set a pious example for all his people. Janus was proudly venerated as uniquely Roman god rather than one adopted from the Greek pantheon. All forms of transition came with the purview, beginning and endings, entrance and exit, and passageways. The name Janus is etymology related to Iuna, the Latin word for door. Janus himself was the anitor, or the doorkeeper of the heavens. So this is who Janus is. Janus ain't really got nothing to do with the new year. Yeah, do that for me, Eric. I appreciate you, bro. Because every time I try to do it, it don't work. Eric gonna try to put that link to that particular article in the chat in a moment for everybody. So now you notice how we looking at it. There was no focus on the New Year's about anything. It was just more so because they say that's the beginning of the year and he's the God of beginnings. So that's why he's focused on. So there's an animated series on Netflix called The Blood of Zeus that talks about the various. Oh, I believe it. That's their thing. And you know why we look at this stuff? So you can identify it when you see it. You know what I'm talking about? And so when you see certain stuff and you can identify it, you can tell it to your children. Hey, they're worshiping this God. This is who this God is. This is why they worship him. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, you would have to open yourself up to be able to know certain information if you have a desire to make sure that your children don't fall into the traps of the adversary. Because these people worship their gods clandestinely, yet openly at the same time. So you have to know what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? Because even in these movies that they make, whether they're animated or not, they still try to tell the stories of the pantheon of the gods of these societies in these movies. You got to understand something. Greek mythology, I know y'all heard of Homer's Iliad and things of this nature. You know what I'm talking about? These were their movies of that time. So these people are entertained by these type of stories. It has not changed. It has not changed, and it probably won't change until the Lord come back. So Psalms 101 and 1. I will sing of mercy and judgment unto you, O Yahuwah, will I sing. I will behave myself wisely in a perfect way. Oh, when you come unto me, I will walk within my house with a perfect heart. Now look at what this man just said. And you know, we ain't read Psalms 101 in a long time. Because, boy, when I was in the street with it, I used to give Psalms 101 to people all the time. When people used to come to the house, because you need to understand what that means. He said, I will behave myself wisely. That is Sakal Darat Tamim. And you know Tamim is the word for perfect, unimpaired, innocent, having integrity. You know Sakal is the word for another word for wisdom. That's to be prudent, to be circumspect, to understand, to have comprehension, to give attention to consider. So you say, I'll be prudent in the Darat, in the way of life, perfectly, with all integrity and innocence unimpaired. See, they don't want to hear that. Then he said, I'll walk within my house with a perfect heart. So you're supposed to be walking in your body with a tam la. Integrity, completeness, fullness, simplicity, innocence, and integrity. Now, how do people keep telling you you can't, and this man telling you, I'm going to walk in my house and have a heart or an inward man that is, I'm just going to give the English word for integrity for those who may not be familiar with it. God told y'all, right? And at the beginning of these people, yes, that's Psalms 101. Is it a Psalm of David? Yeah. When we're dealing with what these people call their New Year's in 2025 and coming in on the back end of the year of Yahuwah, coming up on his new year in a couple months, I told you this particular year, man, the ending of this year and the going into the next one, is going to be a strong meshing of historical and cultural information in this word so that you can get a comprehension. Y'all done been in the word long enough, your faith should be strong enough to I don't think any of you will go after other gods. And if you did go after other gods, that means Yahuwah was never your God to begin with. So that's just going to be what it is. You know what I'm talking about? That's just going to be what it is. But you at that point now that I believe that most of you can handle that type of information. It needs to be looked at and examined. So you can, like I say, because we don't deal with that Illuminati stuff and all that old goofy stuff like that, though, man. These people worship other gods, man. Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah, he told you, has a nation changed their gods? These people never changed their gods. You changed yours, but they didn't change theirs. I'll tell you that right now. Integrity refers to being honest, having strong moral principles, and consistently adhering to those principles. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. The Hebrew word for uprightness would be yashar. The state of being whole and undivided. Now, what did Paul tell you? Is God divided against himself? If you got integrity, you whole and you undivided, and you consistently stand to the principles of which you espouse. So you mean to tell me that you can't be perfect? So that means you're telling me that you don't consistently hold to the values and the principles that you espouse. So you a hypocrite and you fake. So why would I listen to you for? Because you telling me, oh no, I don't, the stuff I tell you, I don't do it. I just talk about it. Verse 3, Psalms 101. I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. A froward heart shall depart from me. I will not know a wicked person. Now somebody goes, how is it possible not to know a wicked person? Now a person is inserted there, so it's not there, just so you know. But what is it to know? That's yada. That's to know, to perceive, to learn to know by experience, to be acquainted with, to be an acquaintance of, which goes back to Psalms 101. I'm not hanging with the wicked, which is go back to what we read in 1 Corinthians 5 and 11, when this man say, hey, if any man who call himself a brother is a fornicator, a railer, an idolater, an extortioner, or anything of the sort, don't fool with him. Which is the whole point of why I mentioned this stuff with these other guys in the first place. Because you will talk ad nauseum about these people celebrating New Year and sit down in fellowship with extortioners, whoremongers, liars, thieves, railers, covetous men, brawlers, unbelievers, and say nothing. You have nothing to say. I just seen the dude made a post, man. This man talking about he mad at his old lady's brother-in-law because he told her she couldn't stay at his house because she left their house, and he disobeying. He caused her to disobey me because he ain't tell her to go home. I'm like, what's wrong with you niggas, man? What if he did tell her to go home and she say, nah, I ain't going? He supposed to put her on the street? Like, that's crazy to me. Now, I don't know if the brother-in-law deal with the word. Then he said he was mad at another congregation because he said that he commanded her that she couldn't fellowship there, and they still let her fellowship there. See, that's a whole nother conversation. Because me personally, if it's a woman and she done left her husband, and then her husband come talking about she can't come get no word here, I'm going to try to have some mediation. Like, what y'all got going on? You know what I'm talking about? Like, what y'all got going on? But number one, don't step to me like that, because nigga don't come making no demands or no threats to me about nothing. You know what I'm talking about? Because I'm already going to ask this woman before you even come make this conversation why you left and why you don't want to go back home anyway. That's going to be asked just on general principle. That's going to be the first conversation. That's going to be the first thing in the conversation. Why did you leave home and why you don't want to go back home? What y'all got going on? And we need to get him over here, because I don't want to be in the middle of no domestic disputes with nobody. For one reason and one reason alone. Because I don't know how emotionally unstable that man is about that woman. You know what I'm talking about? And I don't need this man coming threatening my life or threatening to do me physical harm about this woman. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about this the other day. I done mentioned y'all this before, man. I'm not trying to be funny. But boy, a man who was in love with a woman is a very, very, very dangerous man. You understand what I'm telling you? Because that man is emotionally attached, and when that man is emotionally attached, he can be emotionally unstable, and there is quite literally nothing that can restrain this man from any unkempt and violent behavior. And that's just being dead serious. I'm not being funny. I'm not trying to over-exaggerate. That junk is dangerous. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm not trying to be in the middle of that because I don't want your old lady. I don't want none of the problems that's going to come between you and your old lady. I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want nothing to do with that. So I'm already trying to figure out how to keep your family whole in the first place. Now, I did leave out one piece of information. This man said this was his third. So he wouldn't be coming to me with that anyway. You know what I'm talking about? Because we wouldn't be co-signing that anyhow. You know what I'm talking about? But nevertheless. But that's just me. But one thing I can tell you, gentlemen, if you ever in that space, man, don't never underestimate how much a dude love his old lady, man, and what he willing to do behind that woman, man. Don't never underestimate that. Don't never think you so hard and so tough that, oh, that nigga ain't gonna do nothing to me. Boy, these boys will put you under the ground about this woman. That man will kill her, you, and himself with no problem. Or he'll kill you, her, and go to prison with no care in the world. And you can take that as a joke if you want to. Mama Steph put another one up there. Janice and Roman life and occult and study and Roman religions. I might come with that one there on the back end, y'all. Let me make sure we get the other stuff we got. It's 92-page book. At least I try to put it in the group chat for your reading pleasures. You know what I'm saying? And that's serious, man. But yeah, you always got to look at that, man. That's a light thing. Number one, I put it to you like this here, man. Just for wisdom's sake, when the time comes that you in this type of position, man. When it comes to marital disputes, don't go for nothing that either party say until both of them say it in front of you. Don't judge the matter. Remember, he said, "Don't judge according to the appearance, judge righteously." All you can look at both parties in the face if they not there at the same time is, "Hey, I'm not saying you're lying, but I wasn't there." Because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of times, regardless if it's the man or the woman, they're going to always try to tell that story to make themselves look good. There's very few people who going to say, "Hey, I bear this manner of culpability, and I did this, that, there, and the third." You know what I'm talking about? I know Mama Steph can attest. I don't think any of the rest of y'all ever been in law enforcement, but, you know, domestic squabbles are very, very volatile and unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? They're not to be approached lightly. You know what I'm saying? They ain't supposed to be approached haphazardly. You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with people who married and they coming to you for counsel in that regard and this, that, and the third, yeah, you got to tell them you got to go get your wife, man. Or you need to go get your husband. Or you can tell them this is what it sounds like, or implore them to be able to have proper conversations if they don't desire to do that. But if you think I'm finna come rebuke your wife, or you just can't be like, "Oh, that's my homeboy, so he can't be telling me nothing wrong. I'm gonna take his side." You can't do that. You have to put that to the side that that's your friend. It doesn't matter if that's your friend. You're not judging for you. You're not judging for him. You're judging for Yahuwah. You have to put all that to the side. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if you're related to him. It don't matter if you've been friends with him for 30 years. It don't matter what y'all done went through. When you judging the matter, none of that matters. You can't look at it, "Oh, that's a woman," and you know how women is, because you can know how women is. But when you talking about pure, unadulterated, righteous judgment, you can't do that. Because if he wrong, then he wrong. And if she wrong, then she wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. And if they both wrong, then they both wrong. You know what I'm talking about? They say the worst cause to go to. They turn on us, protecting them from each other. Yeah, man, that's all volatile, man. You talking about people emotions being involved, man. We were talking about this the other morning, man, and I'm telling you something. A lot of women, and I'll be honest with you, in my personal estimation, I would say 95 to 98% of women grossly underestimate a man's emotional attachment if he is in love with them. Like a lot of the stuff that you hear ladies say on the internet, that they want a man to be obsessed with them and be in love with them and this, that. You do not want that. I promise you, you don't. You know what I'm talking about? A man who is genuinely obsessed with you, that man will kill you. The minute you break that emotional attachment from him, you think you just gonna move along. Oh, he'll just go get him another woman. That man might kill you, man, or if not, kill himself. You know what I'm talking about? Man, you don't want that man. You want that man to have love for you. You don't want that man to be nothing emotional about you. Because that's what we were talking about is, yeah, it is. It can be both sometimes, but a lot of times, a lot of women don't jump off that top rope with that emotional attachment like that because they tend to be more necessary that your woman be emotionally attached to you. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little different. When you take a man, see, women gonna do that to you if you're crossing. You know what I'm talking about? You've been around here saying this, that, there, and the third, and you've been lying, and you've been philandering, and you doing this, that, there, and the third. You done scorn that woman. Now you might need to watch her. She might be willing to do something to you. You know what I'm talking about? So you would actually have to cross her. With a dude, you may not have to cross him. You know what I'm talking about? That junk is dangerous, man. You take a man who is emotional with the testosterone / aggressiveness in that state, there's no telling what he might do. Like straight up and down. There's no telling, and you can't underestimate that. You just can't walk around, ladies, like, that nigga, he'll be all right, man. Shoot. Yeah, that nigga might kill you, man. And whoever you with. Because we were talking about this the other day, lady thinking they're playing like, hey, man, if you go to meet a woman, you got to make sure that she ain't got a nigga who think that's his old lady. Because, see, a woman could cut a dude off, but it's a dude in his mind, that's still his old lady. You know what I'm talking about? And he going to kill you and her. I'm talking about real life, man. Y'all can think it's a joke and dilly-dally around if you want to. Because what we were talking about is men love harder than women. And if a man has fallen in love with you, oh yeah, he loves you way harder than you love him. Do you know what I'm talking about? Way harder. That's why he take it so bad. You know what I'm talking about? That's why he take it so bad. Because I think my sister sent me a video, man, with this lady on this dating app. And with a lot of ladies, y'all look at male-female interactions based off of your own perspective. You know what I'm saying? You don't look at it through a man's perspective. And a man's perspective is not the same as yours. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same as yours. Like if that man love you like that, he don't see himself being with no other woman. You know what I'm saying? So when you cut that pipeline off, that's just dangerous. Say they got a show based on that. Oh, I could believe it. That's just dangerous, man. I only tell the ladies that for their own protection. You better be careful. Saying love is like the trance that the brother in Chronicle Judah used to say, never fall in love with anything in the flesh. Yeah. I remember him saying, you can't. One, because nothing in the flesh is eternal. So it's always going to go away. You know what I'm talking about? And there's nothing in this life forever but Yahuwah. So you have to be careful with that. You know what I'm talking about? So, man, you got people you love them, you enjoy your time with them. You know what I'm saying? This, that, then the third. But boy, when you cross over and being in love with them, you in a dangerous place because now you dwelling in a place of emotion and feelings all the time. And emotions and feelings are volatile. They change. They can't be trusted. Your emotions and feelings will deceive you, which is why he told you in Jeremiah, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Man, your emotions and feelings will lie to you and tell you up is down. You know what I'm talking about? And day is night and night is day. And you'll respond to that and make a life-changing and life-altering decision based on how you felt in a moment. That's why Paul told you that all those who are Mashiachs are crucified their affections and lust. You have to put that stuff to death. Because you can't serve God and be in that state. It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? It's impossible. You're not going to be able to do it. Because your emotion, your heart going to lie to you. You know what I'm talking about? And a man who in his feelings, Lord have mercy. Psalms 101:5. Lord have mercy. Whoso privily slander his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that have a high look and a proud heart will I not suffer. My eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He that walk in a perfect way, he shall serve me. If you don't walk in a perfect way, you can't serve me. He that work deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that tell lies shall not tarry in my sight. I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I might cut off all the wicked doers from the city of Yahuwah. That's why when you see New Jerusalem come down and they say the name of the city is Yahuwah is there. That's why I say nothing that defile or work abomination can dwell in that place. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But people don't like to hear that. You know what I'm talking about? But nevertheless, let's come back over here to Luke. John, I'm sorry. 119. I done got off on the tangent, but it's okay. We get back on track with just John the Baptist. I got time. John 1:19. But y'all better pay attention on that stuff for real, though. That junk ain't no joke. That junk sound cute till niggas start doing it, then you be disgusted. So this is the record of John. When the Yahudim sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who are you? He confessed and denied not, but confessed, I'm not the Hamashiach. And they asked him, what then? Are you Elijah? And he said, I am not. Are you that prophet? He answered, no. They said unto him, who are you? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. What say you of yourself? He said, I'm the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Make straight the way of Yahuwah, as said the prophet Isaiah. And they which were sent were of the Pharisees, and they asked him and said unto him, why immerse you then, if you be not that Hamashiach, nor Elijah, neither that prophet? John answered them, saying, I immerse with water, but there stand one among you whom you know not. He it is who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoe latchet I am not worthy to loose. Now, that verse 27, what y'all think that referred to in the law? He who's coming after me is preferred before me. Because there's something in the law that pertains to that. Let me see what y'all think on that. Then we come back over here to Luke. What y'all think that referred to? He that come after me is preferred before me. Nobody? Anybody? I put the rally monkey on. Maybe that'll help you bring in a couple singles so we can bring in a run. Ain't nobody got nothing fun. We got to look at Zechariah 13:5. You say Genesis with Perez? I give you Genesis, but not Perez. Just because it don't say nothing about them one being preferred. I'll read the passage for you though. Genesis, what is that? 38, and 28. The 27, it came to pass in the time of her travail that behold, twins in her womb. It came to pass when she should travail that one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. And it came to pass as he drew back his hand that behold, his brother came out, and she said, how have he broken forth? This breach be upon you, therefore his name is called Perez. Afterwards came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was Zerah. Say Jacob and Rachel preferring her. This is simple. It's Jacob and Esau. Remember, he said the elder would do what? Serve the younger. So wouldn't that be the one who came after is preferred? You know what I'm talking about? But nevertheless, that's another conversation for another day. Let's come back over here to Luke chapter 1. Verse 19. The Malachim answering said unto him, I am Gabriel. That stand in the presence of Elohim and sent unto speak unto you to show you these glad tidings. And behold, you shall be dumb and not be able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because you believe not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. So we want to look at perform. Now, performed here is Gin Omehe. It is to come into existence, to begin to receive, beings, to come to pass, to happen, of events, to be made finished, of miracles to be performed. So in this instance, this is when the word will come to pass. Now come at the bottom of Luke chapter 1. Well, not the bottom, I'm sorry. I want you to come to Luke 1 and 35 or 34. Matter of fact, I need more than that. We got to go to 26. Luke 1 and 26. Because it's a different word for performed, and I want to deal with that also. And in the 6th month, the Malachim Gabriel was sent from Elohim unto the city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And Malachim came in unto her and said, Hail you that are highly favored, Yahuwah is with you, Baruch are you among women. Oh, no, that's different. That's different deal. Because you got to look at it in comparison to John the Baptist and the Lord. But I can see why you can say that, because Eleazar was just sent out to find a wife. So, and more so looking at the aspect of Esau was the elder, but he said the elder would serve the younger, so therefore that which came after was preferred before that which came later. And then, of course, there's another instance of that in Genesis, 32, I want to say. And maybe we need to revisit that, because that's going to cause us, because it's something that came to my mind in John that we ain't talked about in a long time, with them crossing the Jordan as it pertains to Yahusha, son of Nun, and all that type of stuff. And we need to revisit that also, because it's been a long time since we discussed it. There's a lot of things we're going to have to revisit. I think I mentioned that to y'all already. What I was about to say is, man, the Malachim came and presented women with messages all the time. You know what I'm saying? You can see that the Malachim gave a message to Rebekah and didn't give that message to Isaac. You can see that Samson's mother got that message before his father did. And of course, you see here, Zacharias got that message, but not Elizabeth. And you can see here that Mary got it first, and then Joseph. I said that to say this, because a lot of people try to act like Yahuwah don't fool with women. That's just not the case. It's just when you got the organizational structure and the courses and jobs that are pertain to them, women don't work every job, and that's it. It's really that simple. Like, it's not that hard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we know we're an equal part of the nation. There's no separation. Like I say, when you examine the text closely, the word of Yahuwah doesn't oppress women. Men oppress women. And I think that's where dudes get the game twisted. Because guess what? Men oppress other men too with the same word. If someone is an oppressor and an extortioner, as we read in 1 Corinthians 5 and 11, then that's just what they're going to do. That ain't got nothing to do with Yahuwah or his word. That's the heart of that wicked person. And you have to know how to make the difference between the two. When someone is an oppressor, oppressing is what they do. You know what I'm saying? But you don't never read nowhere where Yahuwah promotes, condones, or desires anyone to oppress anyone. Matter of fact, he told you, if you see oppression in the Proverbs, he say, don't marvel. He said, don't the highest of the highest see it and he regard it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Come over here to Ecclesiastes. I think it's chapter 8. Or chapter 5, I'm sorry. 5 and 8. I had it backwards. He said, if you see the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, he said, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regard, and there be higher than they. I could read verse 9, but that's going to take me off somewhere else. But listen, the people who think they high above men to oppress them, God let you know, I'm above them and I'm going to come see them. He said, I see it, and I'm going to come see him about it. You know what I'm talking about? But that's definitely, Yahuwah don't promote none of that. That man is not on that. That's what men like to do. You know what I'm saying? Men like to oppress other people for means of control. And you have to be, remember, you're not supposed to rule over each other with rigor. So that ain't just with the brother, that's with everybody. He said, he that ruleth amongst men must be just. You know what I'm talking about? So what you really have is a lot of dudes who are not comfortable in their masculinity, and they're not comfortable in their ability to lead and rule. So they have to overexert themselves in a means to stamp down on other people to lift themselves up. That's a personal problem. That man needs therapy. You know what I'm talking about? And possibly an exorcism. But nevertheless. So Luke 1 and 28. And the Malachim came in unto her and said, Hail you that are highly favored. Yahuwah is with you. Baruch are you among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. The Malachim said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for you have found favor with Elohim. And behold, you shall conceive in your womb and shall bring forth a son and shall call his name Yahushua. He shall be great. He shall be called the Son of the Highest. Yahuwah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father David. He shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. Then said Mary unto the Malachim, How should this be, seeing I know not a man? The Malachim answered and said unto her, The Ruach HaKadosh shall come upon you, and the power of the Highest shall overshadow you. Therefore also that Kadosh thing which he shall be born of you shall be called the Son of Elohim. Now it's funny, right? When you look at something, right? He said the Kadosh thing that will be born of you. Ain't nothing Kadosh coming from a man's semen. Let me just let you know that right now. If you think that's something that is really sanctified and set apart because that was generated in your testicles and then released through your phallus to inseminate a woman's womb, if you think that that baby you had is a holy thing, you sadly mistaken, man. And you have an inflated sense of ego and self to even ponder such an idiotic thing in your mind. Verse 36, and behold, your cousin Elizabeth, she also conceived a son in her old age. And this is the 6th month with her, who was called barren. For with Elohim, nothing shall be impossible. Paul, let's look at where he first said that. Because Genesis 18 and 14. And that's what a lot of people's problem is. Stop it. Leave it alone. Go sit down. Leave it alone. I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you any questions. Just because you tore it up. Now go sit down. No, because you tore it up. Now go sit down. Yeah, thank you. Genesis 18 and 14. Is anything too hard for Yahuwah? Matter of fact, let me back that up. Verse 9. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. He said, I will certainly return unto you according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah your wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door and was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, and my Lord being old also? And Yahuwah said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I with surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for Yahuwah? At the time appointed I will return unto you, and according to the time of life Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, But no, you did laugh. You know, Sarah came about in the same fashion that you seen Zechariah did. You know what I'm talking about? They had a little doubt because it seemed far-fetched to them. You know what I'm talking about? It is what it is. They're human beings. You know what I'm talking about? All Zechariah could think about was, I'm old. Because he said the same thing. I'm an old man and my wife is well stricken in years. Zechariah did the same thing that she did. Only difference is he didn't laugh. You know what I'm talking about? But I'm mentioning that because he said with Elohim, nothing is impossible. And the problem with most dudes is they put limitations on the possibilities of what Yahuwah can do. And that is a grave mistake. If Yahuwah can speak a word and children can come out of a blade of grass, man. You know what I'm talking about? If you really think Yahuwah needs your penis in a woman's vagina to create children, you don't know Yahuwah. That man can speak a word and it exists. Do you understand that? Like, do you understand the reality that man can speak a word and it can happen? He is not bound by our human means of execution. He's not bound by that. Now I'm talking about, like, you have to really understand that. Jeremiah tell you, man, the oceans hit the sand and never overtake it, because the oceans stop at the bound of the word of Yahuwah. Everything, and I mean everything, is subject to the word of Yahuwah. Can't nothing go too far to the right, no too far to the left. Can't nothing go up, can't nothing go down, but at his word. It's really that simple. It is really that simple. But people don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to make him a man. You framed in your mind that he has to operate under the dictates that you have to operate under. And if that's the case, then guess what he wouldn't be? He wouldn't be God at that point. He would be a man. Indeed. Say, I'm Yahuwah Elohim of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? And it's not. You think it's something hard for him to take a woman who passed childbearing age and open her womb? You think it's something too hard for him that he can speak a word? Because when he tell you the Ruach HaKodesh will overtake you, tell you the word gonna overtake you, baby. The power of God gonna come over you. He speak the word and it's done. And it's done. This is the crazy part, right? He said, this is exactly why I stare sideways at anyone that said it's impossible for Mary and Joseph to not have had sex. No, I understand. Absolutely. Listen, right? Neither won't believe that he spoke a word for this woman to be pregnant, but you believe that he spoke a word and created the heavens and the earth, though. Now, which one you think greater and would be more difficult? That he spoke a word and the earth appeared, that dry land appeared. He spoke a word and the heavens were spanned. Just a word. Come on, man. That's right. With men, this is impossible. With Elohim, all things are possible. Like these are small elements to let you know that the people that you're talking to don't believe the word. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't believe the word. Because if they believe the word, if you believe that Yahuwah is the living Elohim, the creator of heavens and earth, the Almighty, the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, then why would you restrain his power to the framework of human interaction? For sure, Ernest, man, for sure. Like, that's crazy, bro. That's insane, bro. That's not how that works. He's self-existing and self-sustaining. That man said, I'll raise my right hand to heaven and swear on my name I'll live forever. You can't do that. You can go outside right now and swear on your name or swear on Yahuwah you live forever, and I guarantee you one day, boy, you're going to die. So a man who can lift up his hand and swear to heaven that he live forever, you think anything is too hard and restrained from him? That's insane right there, man. He said, sometimes I see the world and how messed up it is, but it's exactly how the Most High wants it at this time. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But a lot of people like to limit Yahuwah. For what reason? I don't know. But nevertheless. Mary said, behold, the handmaid of Yahuwah, be it unto me according to your word. And the Malachim departed from her. Do you hear her response? Be it unto me according to your word. Now, why would a woman who would be planning to go and to lay down with her husband would say, let the word that you have been spoken, let it go down just like you said it? See, most of us ain't got that level of faith if a Malachim would approach to you and say something like that to you. See, Mary had the same faith Abraham had. Can I say where the concept of eating black-eyed peas from the beginning of the year come from? That's a good question, because I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? I'd have to look it up, but I don't know, because my mama did that junk because she's from the South. You know, her people from Louisiana. So, but she didn't do that junk all the time. I forgot what they say the black-eyed peas before. I think they say the greens is for good luck. Greens is for money. Yeah, the peas is for good luck. The greens is for money. I don't know what the ham for. I guess for hypertension. I said ham. I guess niggas made their own protein. I don't know. I just threw that in there. I have no idea. Luke 1:39. I'll look it up in a second. See what we can find. Or if Mama Steph finds something, we can read that also. Mary arose in those days. Say oil. And went into the hill country with haste into the city of Yehuda, and entered into the house of Zechariah and saluted Elizabeth. It came to pass that when Elizabeth heard the salutation of Mary, the babe leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. And she spake out with a loud voice, saying, Baruch you among women, and Baruch the fruit of your womb. And whence this to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For lo, as soon as the voice of your salutation sounded in my ears, the babe leaped in my womb for joy. Baruch is she that believed, for there shall be a performance of the things which were told her from Yahuwah. Now, performance here in verse 45. And then this is when Mary starts to sing a song from 46 to 56, and that's a prophecy, but we'll revisit that another time. When you look at performance here, it is telesis, and that's a completing, a perfecting, the event which verifies the promise. And there it is, Mama Steph, always on time. Here we go right here, y'all. Boom, 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 boom. The New York Times states that areas influenced by the British are eating collards or kale today. In Louisiana, dang, that junk just skipped right to the top. Why do black-eyed peas symbolize New Year's luck? Here's the origin story. This is coming from Verite News, written by Tammy C. Barney. Today, actually. She wrote it today. Looking for good luck and prosperity in 2025? Eat black-eyed peas with collard greens or cabbage and a slice of cornbread on New Year's Day. According to historian and food scholar Adrian Miller, black-eyed peas represent coins, collard greens represent paper money, and cornbread represents gold. The Food Network states. Some say you'll have the best chance of luck if you eat exactly 365 black-eyed peas, one for each day of the year. That's a lot of peas. I don't know if I want to eat 365 black-eyed peas. The New York Times states that areas influenced by the British are eating collards or kale today. In Louisiana, where there's a stronger German influence, people ate cabbage. Though historians differ on how the tradition started, it is tied to Black history. One belief is that black-eyed peas became a lucky symbol after Confederates survived a winter by eating the peas. Others say it started when the enslaved people ate black-eyed peas on January 1st, 1863, to celebrate the Emancipation Proclamation, which abolished slavery, the Food Network states. And to be historically accurate, the Emancipation Proclamation did not free slaves. It freed slaves under Confederate control, which means they freed no one. And you can look that up for yourself. This is historically known. No, look it up for yourself. Black-eyed peas were seen as a throwaway food for enslaved people and livestock. The crop was brought by enslaved Africans in the 1600s as they were transported to the Americas. West Africans have long considered black-eyed peas a good luck charm that warded off evil spirits, and they're often served on holidays and birthdays. The tradition has lived on because it's fun and it speaks to aspiration. You always hope that no matter what your condition is, there's always a brighter future. Today, like many Southern and Black families, we'll have a bowl of black-eyed peas, collard greens, and cornbread to start the new year off right. As my dad says, tradition and culture, it's who we are. God damn it. That's a hell of a tradition. Hold on, we have another story from the New York Times. Hold on. See, I can't eat black-eyed peas. Look like little eyeballs. No, the 13th Amendment says slavery is abolished except for punishment of a crime. What happened is I think the 14th Amendment is what technically freed everybody. But as far as the Emancipation Proclamation itself, Abraham Lincoln freed slaves of which he had no jurisdiction. You know what I'm talking about? And then, of course, Juneteenth is celebrated because in certain other spaces, they didn't hear about it when it first happened and all that. I love black-eyed peas with okra and some smoke. You look like you eat okra. Old behind there eating okra. Damn okra. I'll put this in the group chat. I ain't got time to read this article. It's kind of long. No, I do not eat okra. I do not. It's disgusting. Joanne, cut it out. Cut it out. What was I going at? Back to Malachi chapter 3. I'm sorry. But when Mashiach was born, that was the verification of the promise. Y'all willing went Friday, we'll look at that. And we'll look at John the Baptist's birth also as the verifications of these said promises made to his father and to Mary, and tie that back to the conversation that we had with Isaac and them being born, because these three stories tie in together. Slight variances, but they tie in together. Malachi 3:1 yet again. And behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the messenger of the covenant whom you delight in. And behold, he shall come, saith Yahuwah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming? Who shall stand when he appear? For he's like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. He shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahuwah an offering in righteousness. Now, of course, you can see that. We're going to go to Isaiah 40 in a moment. And Samuel has something about of John. You know what I'm saying? Rehash that. And the Zechariah 13 is of John. Stanley put that in there. We'll look at that also. So let's come over here to Isaiah 40, the one that everybody knows. Yeah, man, I don't eat no okra, but I'm good on that. I am good on that. (40:1). Joanne, govern yourself properly. You understand? Do you understand? Ain't nobody laughing. Mm-hmm. Keep on, Joanne. You don't want to see February 26th, do you? You don't want to make it, do you? No, you don't want to make it. Comfort you, my people, saith your Elohim. Speak you comfortably to Jerusalem and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she have received of Yahuwah's hand double for all her sins. Now, again, comfortably. You should remember this from the book of Hosea. What does he mean when he's speaking comfortably to you? He is speaking to your lave, your inner man, your heart, your understanding, the seat of your appetites, your heart or your moral character, your conscience, the seat of your courage. See, this is what a lot of brothers don't realize with the information that they bring in, that they're not speaking to the hearts of men. Talking to somebody about holidays, that's not speaking to the hearts of men. This is why they're ineffective. Man, Yahuwah speak to the heart. Anybody he send gonna speak to the heart. Because that's what that talking about. What holiday that don't touch that inward man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie to you. We have some very, very carnal teachings. The stuff is trash, blood. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's basura. As it pertains to everlasting life. It's not going to produce what everybody says that they're out here trying to get. If that is what people are actually trying to get. You have to ask yourself this question, right? You know, we'll say rest in peace, and, you know, some people want rest in power, you know, sleep and all this, that type of thing. At the end of the day, you want to rest in a Mashiach. You want to sleep in a Mashiach. You want to be dead in a Mashiach, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm talking about? Because when people say sleep in power, rest in power, who and what power are you talking about? But the objective is you want to meet your maker in peace. So are you dealing with this word so that when you meet your maker, that you can meet him with peace and with boldness and in confidence? Because John and Peter said that we're supposed to be bold in the day of judgment. We're supposed to have a strong level of batak and confidence that we can approach to our God with no fear. You understand? What I mean by this is in this particular natural state that we in, as you seen that Mary was fearful when Gabriel came, because they don't know that these are they don't know that, you know what I'm saying? People just run their mouth because you read words off a page. But you haven't had this encounter with an angel to understand that why these people would think this was God. That's not an everyday occurrence. You know what I'm talking about? It is a terrible and terrifying sight. You're not finna meet no angel and know it's an angel and high-five him. And be like, yeah. No, you're going to be absolutely in awe and terrified because it's an awesome sight. You're not going to run up on no demon, quote unquote, or unclean spirit and be like, yeah, shoot me to fade. This demon ain't no nigga. You're going to be scared, cuz. It's not an everyday sight. You're not going to be scared because it's a grotesque looking creature. It's going to be a level of power that is not normal on this human plane of existence. You know what I'm talking about? So when you actually been born of the word and you have the power of God and you come into his contact, it's not going to be that same level of fear. You would have boldness to approach unto him because your confidence that you have in his word and his execution will allow you to do that. Let me read that for you. Come over here to 1 John, I believe. I think it's 1 John 4. Might be 3. But my mind say 4. And I was right. 1 John 4. I'll make it 12. 1 John 4 and 12. Don Joanne, conduct yourself and comport yourself with some manner of respect. You keep playing with people and somebody gonna punch you upside your head. That's all it's gonna take. It's gonna take somebody to punch you in your mouth. Because you like to try people. Don't nobody like a bully, Joanne. First John 4 and 12. No man have seen Elohim at any time. Well, I'll make it 10. Herein is love, not that we loved Elohim, but that he loved us and sent his son to be the reconciliation, the atonement, or the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if Elohim so loved us, we also to love one another. This is why John the Baptist said, he that come after me is preferred before me. You know what I'm talking about? Because yes, though John the Baptist was born with the Ruach HaKodesh from the womb, John the Baptist is not a child of promise, if you would. He was a child of a promise, but he's not the child of promise. You know what I'm talking about? You have to know the difference. He's born of a promise. Obviously, you're ready. But he's not a child of the promise, like Isaac was. You know what I'm talking about? Which Jacob is a representation of. This is why Jacob is preferred before Esau, though he came after. You know what I'm talking about? Because the blessing is with him. You understand? So the reconciliation, remember he said, Abraham shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. So let's continue. Verse 11. Beloved, if Elohim so loved us, we ought also to love one another. No man have seen Elohim at any time. If we love one another, Elohim dwell in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby we know that we dwell in him and he in us, because he has given us of his Ruach. And we have seen and do testify that the Abba sent the Son to be the Savior of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Yahushua is the Son of Elohim, Elohim dwell in him and he in Elohim. See, you can't make that confession that he the Son of God until you believe on him as the scripture has said. If you don't know the testimony as the scripture has said, you can't make that todah. You can't make that confession. You're not going to be able to make that confession. Making that confession is not just saying Jesus is the Son of God. Yahushua is the Son of God. Yeshua. No. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. And we have known and believed the love that Elohim have to us. Elohim is love. He that dwell in love, dwell in Elohim, and Elohim in him. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. See, you're supposed to have a level of batak, of boldness in your faith, man. That's necessary. That's why he speak comfortably to you, or he speak to your heart. Reason I mention that because John the Baptist came with the lead up, but John the Baptist didn't have the promise. You understand what I'm saying? John the Baptist was telling you about he who was coming with the promise, but John didn't have the promise. You know what I'm saying? He had the baptism of repentance. He was speaking to the heart, getting the people ready for he who had the words of faith or the word of promise to perfect them. John wasn't the perfecter. You know what I'm talking about? He was speaking of that perfecter who would refine you like a full of soap and take you through the refiner's fire for your perfection. That wasn't John the Baptist's job. See, what a lot of people don't realize is these righteous men who came before us, they knew what their job was, and they were confident in doing their job. They didn't feel the need that they needed to do his job, or make themselves out to be some great man. They knew Yahuwah gave them a mission, and they were content with fulfilling the mission that he gave them. Isaiah 40:3. The voice of him that cried in the wilderness, prepare you the way of Yahuwah. Make straight in the desert a highway for our Elohim. Every valley shall be exalted. So that means those who are humble shall be lifted up. Every mountain and hill shall be made low. Those that exalt themselves shall be abased. And the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And the esteem of Yahuwah shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken. And let's go back to John chapter 1 where you can see that happening. This is John 1:29. The next day, John saw Yahushua coming unto him, and he said, behold, the Lamb of Elohim, Shalom, says Kelly, which take away the sins of the world. This is he whom I said, after me come a man which is preferred before me, for he was before me, and I knew him not. But that he should be made manifest to Yasharal, therefore I come immersing with water. Even though they were cousins, he didn't know that man. You know what I'm talking about? It's forth is experiencing him. But that's another question. Because my old lady told me the other day, somebody said, well, what was Jesus doing between ages and such, living his life? You know, I know it's the natural, come back to Isaiah 40, the natural thought process of human being is you want to know every play-by-play and blow-by-blow of what somebody had going on. What he was doing before he started preaching is none of my concern. You know what I'm saying? I only care about the things that pertain to my salvation. I don't care what he did when he was 12. I don't care what he did when he was 22. I don't care. See, I had the same mind that David had that he wrote in that song, that I don't exercise myself in matters too high for me. I don't concern myself with things that are not for me to know. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what a lot of niggas' problem is. I'm talking about as a thing pertaining to the things of God. When it pertains to the things of knowledge and history and culture and society, ain't nothing wrong, man. Learn as much as you want to learn. But if you believe that the Elohim of Yahushua, your Abba and Shamahim, did your parents tell you everything they did and everything they'd ever done and everything they got going on? No. So why you think God's supposed to? And then you have to ask yourself this question. You know what I'm talking about? That's right there. And then you got to ask yourself this question. Why do you feel entitled to that information? You know what I'm talking about? Why do you feel like you need to know every single solitary detail of everything? That speaks more to you than it does to him. That would tell me that you're probably looking for a reason because you don't really believe it. So you're trying to find something that will convince you to believe it if you know every single solitary detail. Because I done talked to people for plenty of time. They be like, yeah, why I want to know this and know that. And I'd be like, why? Why you care? And I ain't even asked that out of no sarcasm. I genuinely like, why do you care? Because there's some stuff, man, it never ran across my mind. Because I just genuinely wasn't concerned. You know what I'm talking about? See, contrary to what a lot, especially on this app, that a lot of people like to argue, everything that man has ever done hasn't been written down. You know what I'm saying? And just because everything ain't been written down does not take away from the truth of the matter. People feel like if it ain't written, it ain't no historical record of this. Who said it had to be? You going by man's standards. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But you would have to be willing to acknowledge that. You know what I'm saying? Because man is crooked. Because I forgot who that was I was talking to about this here, man. Well, I'm thinking what they were talking about, the stuff that the Vatican hides. You'll never know what the Vatican has in that library. You'll never know. You know what I'm talking about? That's not something you're ever going to find out. And you're never going to know what was in the Library of Alexandria that was burned. You're never going to know. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe Yahuwah didn't want you to know. Whatever that information might have been. You know what I'm talking about? Like at the end of the day, man, everything ain't for you to know. We feel like we're supposed to have a chart of everything that every human being has ever done under the existence of heaven. That's not even feasible. It's not even feasible. You know what I'm talking about? You say if it's not public knowledge, it's not my concern to discover or seek out any information thereof. Yahuwah knows, and that's good enough. Indeed, but I'm just speaking like because you have people who they're students and they seek to want to know things. But you know, Solomon warns you of making many books, you'll destroy yourself. You know what I'm talking about? Say just on the natural tip, like books, movies, TVs, a lot of beauty and reading in between the lines and having certain details out of things. Yeah, just not being drawn to. Let me read that to you in Ecclesiastes, man. And I also know a lot of people don't really study for real. So what Solomon about to say probably don't pertain to a lot of people. Oh, I ain't got no shoes on. Verse 12. And further, this is Ecclesiastes 12 and 12. And further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end. And much study is a weariness to the flesh. So let me show y'all what that means. When he's telling you to be admonished, that is Zahar, Zayin, Hay, and Raj. That is to be warned, to be taught, to be taught, to be admonished, to warn. It also means to shine, to send out light. But obviously, that's not what that means in that instance. So making is Asah, which is work, Sefer for books, Rabbah for great. And then he says no end. When you're dealing with end, that's Kates. Kuf and Sad, he said there is end. A process that doesn't end. And he told you that much study, which is Lahag, Lamad, Hay, and Gamal. Studying, devotion to study. This is the only time that word is used. He said that is a weariness to your flesh. Weariness in this instance is Yagah, Yad, Gamal, Ayin, Wa'u, Ayin, and Hay. Weariness, a tiring, fatigue. Because I know everybody like, man, you got to study, this, that, there, and the third, and studying is good. But he said, you better be careful about doing all that devotion to study. He said, man, you're tire out your flesh. And what did he mean by that? You see all these Hebrews who study this and study that. Niggas ain't got no type of spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? There's no renewal of strength or anything. Why you think dudes be like, this way is hard? You know what I'm saying? This truth is different. All this type of stuff because you studying all the time. Your flesh weird. You ain't never spent no time. You more devoted to reading. You know what I'm saying? The word of God and actually knowing your God so you can be one with your God that he can renew your strength. So he gave you that warning. Don't mean you can't study. You're supposed to seek out the book of Yahuwah and read. You know what I'm talking about? But that's why I say that most people are not readers and studiers like that to even understand what he's talking about. Most people don't devote themselves to that type of studying. You know what I'm saying? And shoot, I know Mama Stephen said she'll read a book, you have to pause, you have to stop. Man, you just can't, man, nigga talking about they just reading on nigga lying, man. You can't do that and maintain some type of strength, man. It's not possible. It's not possible. You have to take breaks. You have to stop. You have to absorb the information. You have to do a whole bunch of stuff, man. I'm gonna tell you, man, no nigga don't read for real, man. That take a lot. Take a lot. I'm talking about not even just reading no word, man. I'm talking about, boy, that take a lot. Niggas say, well, I study the Bible all the time, man. That nigga lying. You know what I'm talking about? Well, you're not like that for real, cuz. You're not like that for real. And it shows. As much as some of these dudes, they say they study, they definitely need to stop with the dope they selling. That junk is terrible. It's reprehensible, to say the least. 40:5, Isaiah. Now, we read in John where it said, the esteem of Yahuwah will be revealed, all flesh will see it. That's what the John 1:29 was. The esteem of Yahuwah shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of Yahuwah have spoken it. The voice said, cry, and he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass. All the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass wither, the flower fade, because the ruach of Yahuwah blow upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass wither, the flower fade, but the word of our Elohim shall stand forever. And those Zion that bring good tidings, get you up into the high mountains, O Jerusalem, that bring good tidings, and lift up your voice with strength. Lift it up, be not afraid, and say unto the cities of Yehuda, behold your Elohim. Ain't that what he just did when he said, there go the Lamb of God right there? And say, not about what you read, but what you think about what you read. Got that from a book. I think that's stupid. Nah, but I'm talking about real in-depth studying, man. Like real deal studying, man. Boy, that's gonna take a toll on you, man. Ask any reputable researchers. I'm talking about people who not even biblical readers. Like, ask any reputable researcher, man. You know what I'm saying? That junk is tiring, bro. Absolutely, it's wearisome. Absolutely. I'm telling you because I done been there, man. You know what I'm talking about? That junk hit different. You know what I'm saying? That junk hit different where you be like, man, I might need to take a month off from reading anything. Because I want to say probably first grade, second at the latest, it came into my mind that I didn't want to read nonfiction books. Like, I didn't want to read to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted to be entertained, that's what TV and video games were for. You know what I'm saying? It came in my mind like, you want to read, you read to learn. Why would you have a skill that a group of people went out of their way to make sure that you could never possess, and you want to spend it being entertained? You know what I'm talking about? Now, of course, I developed that thought process as I got older. But yeah, I want to say around 6, 7 years old, I just didn't have the desire to read fiction stories to be entertained. But I ain't gonna lie to you, I was studying and reading so much, man. Especially when I was in prison, I had to read novels. Just so, like, I can't keep reading this stuff. You know what I'm saying? My mind tired. I needed to read something else. Indeed, Mama Steph, indeed. See, I'm a computer tech. During our learning phase, we had to clear 1,800-page books. And that's where a lot of them pick up that coffee habit. If you force too much, it'll have the opposite effect. And so that's why horror movies are for nonfiction. Yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'll watch a movie or something, but you talking about reading, though? Nah. But like I said, when I was up that road, though, man, I was reading so many different books on so many different topics. I had to take breaks and read novels, man. Had to. Because that junk was, nigga, I'm reading about the Rosicrucians. I'm reading about these societies. I'm reading about Freemasons. You know what I'm talking about? I'm reading about ancient civilizations. You know what I'm talking about? I'm reading Christian yoga and Egyptian yoga, Hermes, all this type of stuff, man. You know what I'm saying, man? I'm reading about the Uniform Commercial Code. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading about all type of stuff, man. You can't be doing all that different type of studying and think you just going to be, yeah, man, that junk is wearisome to your soul. You have to take a break. But yeah, I want to say I probably formulated that thought process of not wanting to be read to be entertained sometime in high school. Actually be able to articulate that. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, but these people killed your forefathers for trying to read. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about they hung your people from a tree and castrated them because they wanted to read. You know what I'm saying? So you have the ability to read and you don't use it? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Like, you don't even realize that, man. Your people had their testicles cut off, man, because they wanted to read a book. Because they wanted to read a book. These people made sure that they taught a particular slave the Bible in a particular way to deceive you because you couldn't read. You know what I'm talking about? So you had to believe whatever it is that they say. So you would have to understand, because this is only for a short period of time. Because this thought process that maybe in under Catholic rule, let me say that the common man couldn't read and all this whole other stuff, man, that's a historical fallacy. That was only during Catholic rule that they didn't want people to have books and read. You know what I'm talking about? Other ancient societies, man, the common man, that all them people could read and had books and read. Now you had laymen, which is regular people. They may not have access to the higher levels of information. You know what I'm talking about? But everybody was reading and had books and scrolls to read. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, so that's a historical fallacy. But in America during the slave trade, quote unquote, man, your people got killed for trying to learn how to read, man. And you don't maximize that? That's a damn shame. I ain't gonna lie to you. Not after Shakespeare. Yeah, that ain't good, boy. That ain't good, boy. Boy, I'm talking about this literally men and women who died simply because they wanted to know how to read. And you around here ain't reading nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. That is crazy. You know what I'm talking about? You ain't even got to buy books no more. You got PDFs all on the internet. It's free. I put the doggone website to the, I can't pronounce that name. You know what I'm talking about? To the site that Mama Steph and Lord Marshman made that has a multitude of books. You can pull them up PDF. You're on your phone any goddamn way. You can read it right on your phone, man. Take your time. Whole books, man, on a multitude, any type of topic you want. Man, look here, man. These people that made this stuff easily accessible to come across a multitude of information that you would have had to go to a library or spend thousands of dollars on books for, man, for the free. You know what I'm talking about? For the free. Unfortunately, the government made it where niggas don't want to read. Niggas don't want to read. You niggas want to scroll, watch TV. Niggas mad in Florida right now because they can't get on Pornhub. Ain't that something? Niggas mad because they can't beat the meat for free. But you got all these books out here for free. Don't want to read. My God, today. I'm going to put the website back in there again, man. I'm going to step to put it on there again. I'm going to put it on both group chats, man. They don't cost you nothing. It's free. Or, excuse me. All you got to do is search it. And you might find a book till you like it. On a multitude of things. But it's essential. You know what I'm saying? People do not, yes, please, sir, if you would, please. Let me tell you something, right, and then I'm going to move on so we can get off here. But one thing that people do not like is an informed, well-read populace. An informed and well-read populace is not easily manipulated. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And this is why the Romans did this. This is why you have so many different elements of entertainment at your disposal in America right now. That's why a different company comes with a different streaming service every day. See, they thought they was making it better by giving you streaming services when really they bundled that up and made it more expensive than the cable that you had. And then they took all of the elements of the stuff from cable and then they parsed it out to you like red tops and blue tops. So you ended up spending more money. You know what I'm saying? Because now to be able to look at what you want to look at, you got to have a multitude of streaming services to be able to pull that off. But what it did is it caused you to allow you to constantly spend money to constantly be in the search of entertainment. Because when your mind is entertained, your mind is not being fed. And your mind is a muscle, regardless if you want to believe that or not. And a muscle not trained will decay. You know what I'm talking about? And when you don't constantly train your mind and keep your mind sharp, you keep your mind entertained with folly and things of that sort and things of no consequence, you will consequently become dumber. See, I ain't talking about keeping your mind trained to get some money. Who gives a damn about some money, man? You could be a rich, dumb nigga. It's a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? Your intelligence level is not equated by how much money you can make and retain. That just shows that you have some fiscal responsibility, but it does not show that you have critical thinking and problem-solving skills and the ability to direct, guide, and lead others with the ability of wisdom and understanding that you possess to be able to impart unto others. Also, the ability to read definitely increases your ability to properly articulate yourself. You know what I'm talking about? But then on top of that, it allows you to be informed. Informed. People do not, one thing Satan don't like, but this man tell you in this word all the time to read. Because Satan can only deceive you when you're uninformed. So that's why they legalize weed and certain other drugs. They want the people not, they don't want you thinking clearly. That's why they say you beer all the time. That's why the marijuana is more easily accessible. They never want you in your right mind. They never want you sober because they can manipulate you. That's why they keep you. I told you this plenty of times. They keep you in an emotional state because emotional people are easily manipulated. All they want to do is be able to put whatever propaganda they want to push you in the direction that they desire you to go. And then you think you arrived there on your own. You know what I'm saying? But that's the synagogue of Satan for you. But that's another conversation for another day. 1 Samuel chapter 10. And then Zechariah 13. We just sat in the basis of stuff, some stuff with John the Baptist. It's for setting in order some proverbs, you dig? I appreciate you too, Eric, man. 1 Samuel what? Is it 10 or is it 9? It's been a long time since we did this. Yeah, it's 9. Yeah, indeed. Fear and consume. 9 and 23 is sufficient. And Samuel said unto the cook, bring the portion which I gave you, which I said unto you, set it by you. And the cook took up the shoulder and that which was upon it and set it before Saul. Samuel said, behold, that which is left, set it before you and eat. For unto this time have it been kept for you, since I have invited the people. So Saul did eat with Samuel that day. Oh, for sure. I appreciate that too, my G. And when they would come down from the high place into the city, Samuel communed with Saul upon the top of the house. And they rose up early, and it came to pass at the spring of the day that Samuel called Saul up to the top of the house, saying, up, that I may send you away. And Saul arose, and they went out, both of them, he and Samuel abroad. And as they were going down to the end of the city, Samuel said to Saul, bid the servant pass on before us. And he passed on. But stand you still a while, that I may show you the word of Elohim. Now notice he told him, you tell him go on, you stay right here so I can show you the word. You know what I'm saying? This is a similitude of John the Baptist and Mashiach. And 1 Samuel 10 and 24 is about the same. Then we're in Zechariah 13. Now, I want to let this be known, right? I'm not poo-pooing if you like to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? Because again, it's perspective. It's having a proper balance of things. That's it. Nothing wrong if you like a good movie, a good TV show. You know what I'm saying? A good game. It's none of that. It's when you're overly consumed with entertainment over education that is a problem. If you do more entertaining than educating, you failing yourself. I ain't talking about failing your wife. I ain't talking about failing your children. I'm talking about you failing yourself. Because again, you always got to keep at the front of your mind, bump the back of your mind, the front of your mind. Well, your people died trying to read, man. That's not an exaggeration. You know what I'm talking about? That's not dang, the word escapes me. That's not an embellishment of history. Your forefathers and foremothers literally were murdered for wanting to know how to read or learning how to read and being caught reading.
Unfortunately, niggas got so hot, they stopped reading because they had a renaissance, niggas was reading, and then they gave the.
Yeah. Do you understand how serious it is to be killed because you were reading a book? No matter what the book was. You know what I'm talking about? Just because you were reading a book. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. You know what I'm talking about? That is insane. But nevertheless, I said 24. I make it 23. Matter of fact, I'll make it 22. Therefore they inquired of Yahuwah further, if the man should come thither. And Yahuwah answered, behold, he have hid himself among the stuff. And they ran and fetched from thence. And when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from his shoulders and upward. Samuel said to the people, see ye him whom Yahuwah have chosen. There is none like him among all the people. And all the people shouted and said, Elohim save the king. Again, this is the same instance. Behold, here go the Lamb of God. Then Samuel told the people the manner of the kingdom and wrote it in a book and laid it up before Yahuwah. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. And again, Samuel is the one preparing them for the kingdom, playing the role of John the Baptist here. Saul also went home to Gibeah, and there with him a band of men whose hearts Elohim had touched. This is Saul playing the role of Yahushua, the men who the hearts that Elohim had touched, playing the role of the apostles. But the sons of Belial said, how shall this man save us? And they despised him and brought him no presents, but he held his shalom. And these sons of Belial are playing the role of the Pharisees. We're going to go into all this stuff more in depth. He said, I was always inspired by Booker T. Washington's childhood, how he learned how to read. I don't know if I ever read his stuff on Bob. Matter of fact, I didn't know. I know I did. Zechariah 13, I don't think I read anything about him. Exactly. Getting caught reading back then was very dangerous. I don't think people understand that. I don't because it's not our reality, so I would understand why we wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? You ain't never seen nobody get beaten or killed for learning how to read. You know what I'm saying? But like Mama Steph be telling them people, hey, slavery is over with, and I'm gonna read what I want. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people have a problem with that. Because we were just having this is Zechariah 13, by the way. I'll pick it up at verse 1. At least the main clubhouse room that we be in, say nowadays we have to trick people to read. Ain't that something? And both the Levites, yeah. And like, because people be picking that up about certain books she'll read or this stuff that get discussed. But that's because I understand it because I read these type of books before I was in the Word. So I have a grasp and understanding of ancient civilizations or cultures because I was interested in that anyway. You know what I'm talking about? That was unprompted. Nobody pushed me in that direction. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in high school and middle school, American history, world history, I would read ahead. American government, I would read ahead. So niggas would be wondering like, how could this nigga be asleep and sleep in class every day and get A's on the test all the time? Because nigga, I already read 3-4 chapters ahead of you niggas. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't need to sit up and be awake in here. You know what I'm talking about? They think it is some level of, oh, he's so smart. No, I was just already prepared. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't prepared because I just wanted to sleep in class. I just genuinely was interested in these things. And then I sought out books outside of that on my own time. You know what I'm saying? I want to know about this. I want to read about this. I want to know about this. I want to know about that. So me doing that, coming in the Word, that's not going to shake my foundation in the Word. A lot of brews, they're not privy to these ancient civilizations or cultures. These type of things did not interest them. So when they hear somebody talking about that because they're really not rooted in what they believe, it inflames their insecurities of their unbelief. And they would rather not hear it. So they're going to ridicule and point you because they think if you read a book, that means you believe the book or you co-sign the book. No, I'm reading the book to see what information I can derive from the book. Maybe I'm reading the book because I'm familiar with the author and I want to see the author's point of view on this particular topic. You know what I'm saying? Because nigga, it's a book. Just because I read a book, I don't hold the books of men at the same level that I would hold the book of Yahuwah, you idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with you niggas? Say all those Jewish people trying to stop me from I witnessed that. You know what I'm saying? We were trying to read the Elders of the Protocols of Zion in public, and all them Jewish people came in there trying to stop it. I don't read that. That's propaganda. What you reading that for? As soon as I hear niggas say what you reading that for, now I'm finna read it for sure. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm finna read it for sure. You say, exactly, I don't have to 100% believe it or believe it at all to read it. And there's usually at least one fact in a book. Yeah, man, like this here thing I'm reading to get a particular, see, this is what people's problem is. They don't have a desire to understand the perspective of another person. I don't have to agree with your perspective for me to learn of your perspective. That's what these niggas' problem is. These niggas feel like I have to agree with you. And if I don't agree with you, I can't read or hear anything you have to say about anything. You, my friend, are an idiot. Do you know what I'm saying? And clearly you're unskillful in the arts of persuasion and winning souls. But that's another conversation for another day. But firstly, you, my friend, are an idiot. Do you know what I'm saying? I read a lot of books in my day. Nigga, I didn't believe any of it. You know what I'm talking about? I read books on Sufism, which is mystical Islam. Nigga, I ain't believe that junk, nigga. I ain't go around. Man, I read books about the Rosicrucians. I told you I read Secret of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Man, I ain't believe none of that junk, man. I've studied stuff on Freemasons extensively. Nigga, I read a multitude of Dr. York books. Took my own money and bought this man books. You understand me? I ain't believe none of that junk this nigga was talking about. Hell, most of it I ain't even know what the hell he was talking about. The day I went to jail on December 2nd, 2004, on the case that sent me to prison, we was reading Dr. Malachi Z. York's book, 360 Questions to Ask a Hebrew Israelite. I didn't know what a Hebrew Israelite was in 2004. I had never seen one. Nigga, this is not New York City. Peace, Brother Joseph. It ain't no dudes on the corner and quote unquote Levitical outfits preaching no word, man. That don't go down here, man. Especially not 20 years ago. See, they can read the Twilight Saga fictional series with no problem, but history and traditions are a crime before God. Ain't that something? Niggas reading Harry Potter. Don't you read about the Sumerians, though? These niggas be on here crying about the Anunnaki, man. I was reading about the Anunnaki in 1997. In 1997, man. I was reading about Nibiru in 1997. I done read the ISIS papers. I done read the Holy Pale Horse. I'm just trying to think stuff I can't even read because I done read more books than I can remember. You know what I'm talking about? You say you got Thoth in the Emerald tablets from Zechariah Sitchin. I read that. You know what I'm saying? Before I didn't even know who Zechariah Sitchin was. I seen the book. I told my homeboy, let me get that. Let me see what I got going on, man. You know what I'm saying? I used to be posted up on the block reading books, man. I got a book in my hand and a pocket full of crack. You just go on the website that's in the chat, Crystal. Nah, book suggestions, yeah, she got to help you out with that, bro. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. See, now with that there, I just read certain PDFs. You know what I'm saying? It'd be hard because I only have a certain amount of time with y'all every week. So I can't even get into every book that I done went through to be even to know information. I'm gonna just read you some of these books that's in my files that Mama Steph done sent, man. We got B.R. Taylor, Metaphor of the Gods, Jews Exposed, the Book of Wisdom. That's the Christian yoga book that I read in prison, Mystical Christianity, Egyptian Yoga, The Synagogue of Satan, which is a hell of a piece of literature to say the least. You know what I'm saying? We got the Greek creation myth, monotheism, Yahweh and Baal. And see, and knowing this information, that's just a few of them. Knowing this information, peace, brother Omar, will allow you to be able to see the difference between Yahuwah and these gods. So when these people come tell you, oh, Yahuwah is really this, you won't fall for that. You know what I'm saying? Because you would understand culturally how these things don't line up. We were talking about this the other day. Like if you don't know ancient Egyptian culture and you don't know ancient Egyptian society, and somebody come tell you, yeah, man, Israel, Isis, Ra, and El, you'll fall for that. You know what I'm saying? But when you know that, you would know that Isis is Aset, so this is not even the same. You would know in Hebrew that it's Yasharal, and then of course that would mean you have Yasher. You know what I'm talking about? And then all for Elohim. And you would know that these things are not even remotely in the same class because they wouldn't say Israel. They wouldn't say that. You know what I'm talking about? So let me show you that real quick. Come over here to Genesis 32. And I'll spell it out for you before I read the Zechariah 13. This is verse 28. So we're going to pull Israel out of verse 28 of Genesis 32. And it means Elohim prevails. It is spelled with a Yod, a Shan, a Rosh, a Aleph, and a Lamad. You know what I'm talking about? So when you look at that Yod and that Shan, and you got that Yash, and then you got that Rosh with the Ra, and then the Aleph and the Lamad, that's where the all come in at. You're not going to get no Isis, Ra, and El out of that. Then these people will tell you, well, the languages are the same. Whoever said the languages were supposed to be different? See, people throw all different types of, oh, they stole this from them. Why would they have to steal? All these people live around him. You got to remember the man say the whole world had the same doggone language. So, of course, these people are going to have slight language similarities, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff is insane. It's insane. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to get caught up in all of that. Like I said, man, when you go look in the creation stories of they guys, man, he said, I've seen the dude say Yah and Shu are two Egyptian deities. People say a lot of things till you actually study the Egyptian pantheon and see who their gods is and what they did. That's why we took the time to look at all that stuff. And we only touched the surface of the gods of Egypt. It's a multitude. Like we were talking, we've been talking about the last couple of days, right? Oh, they say the serpent that staff turned in with Moses was turned into a crocodile. Well, guess what? One of the Egyptian deities was a crocodile. We know that Yahuwah's intent was to destroy the gods of Egypt. So if it did turn into a crocodile, so what? All it's going to be a manifestation is I'm going to destroy your gods. So what? Now, I will tell you this. If you ain't grounded in your faith, I wouldn't recommend you study ancient civilizations and cultures. You probably going to worship their gods and toss the book away. And like I said, if you did that, you probably didn't believe it anyway. You know what I'm saying? But if you rock solid, man, you know your house is built upon that rock, then I would recommend you study the ancient civilizations and cultures of the area of, from ancient antiquity all up into the first and second century of when the apostles went out, so that you can see how the people around Yasharal lived and what they believed and how and the differences and how Israel kept getting tripped up because they were trying to emulate these people. See, man trying to emulate what God told them not to do is not representative of Yahuwah. And that's where a lot of people make a mistake in. Now, I was always told the cliche statement that those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. You know what I'm talking about? But it's accurate. You know what I'm saying? This man told you there ain't nothing new up under the sun, and people gonna keep doing the same stupid stuff. And it is what it is. Zechariah 13:1. And that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and uncleanness. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahuwah of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land. They shall no more be remembered, and I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirit to pass out of the land. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and mother that begat him shall say unto him, you shall not live, for you speak lies in the name of Yahuwah. And his father and his mother that begat him shall thrust him through when he prophesied. And it shall come to pass that in the day that the prophet shall be ashamed, every one of his vision, when he shall prophesy, neither shall they wear a rough garment to deceive. But he shall say, I am no prophet, I am a husbandman, for man have taught me to cut cattle from my youth. And this is why when John said, hey, I'm not that prophet. Hey, I'm not that person. Also, he didn't wear a rough garment to deceive. That's why he had a garment with camel's hair on it. That's why that's in there. You know what I'm talking about? And also because Elijah was a hairy man. You know what I'm talking about? But we'll deal with all that, y'all willing, on the spot. Hallelujah for Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? I done kept y'all on here long enough. I appreciate y'all time this evening. I bless y'all in the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. I know Eric put the link in the chat, man, to the website, man, with the bullets, man. I put it in the group chat. And both of them, actually. So, you know, take your time. Look through it. And I say this, you don't have to necessarily, yes, sir, so you don't necessarily have to grab books on ancient civilization. You know, grab books on things that interest you. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir, Brother Nate. But it's imperative, man, that you exercise your brain while you got it. You know what I'm saying? Shalom, Sister Regina. Praise the Lord. And yeah, but this week's focus will be on John the Baptist and things that surround that. And the reason why that came to my mind is because of the statement of performance. And we're going to look at that as forth as with Mary or what it said about performing and link those up to what we were discussing. Be safe out here. Love you too, Brother Michael, man. What we were discussing with Sarah and Abraham and Isaac. Because these three things kind of parallel. Mainly Zacharias and Elizabeth more than Mary and Joseph. But I know Mama Steph asked her brother a question like this earlier, which I think is Shalom, Mika, man, that people find very difficult to ascertain in their brain. And that's if Joseph is the father of Yahusha, then there's no way that Yahusha can be the second Adam. There's no way. You're not going to be able to verify that claim that Paul made by saying this man is the second Adam. He would automatically be disqualified because he would have no tie to Adam, because he would not be of Elohim to be able to be tied to Adam. Now, a lot of people will kick, scream, and fight on that, and it's simply because they don't believe the word. I mean, some stuff is really just as simple as that. Like, hey, man, they don't believe the word. So you think because people talk about the word and have the word that they believe the word, and that's not necessarily the case. A lot of people don't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, to say somebody took man from the dust of the ground and formed him, some people don't believe that. Like, you'll hear people say, man, y'all believe in fairy tales. And some of y'all will get offended by that. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? So what? Why you care? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, they don't believe it. So what? Didn't Paul tell you, so, if some don't believe, does that make the faith of Elohim of none effect? God forbid. So who cares? It's like y'all take stuff personally, or you take it personally because somebody don't agree with your point of view or your doctrine. Like, why do you care? You know what I'm saying? You have to ask yourself that question. Like, why do you care? Like, it takes in point on this T-shirt, right? With the California or Anaheim or Los Angeles Angels. How many of y'all are familiar of what this halo is actually is? Are y'all familiar? Because you got people who think, and you have the icons and portraits of angels, and they always have halos on them. You know what I'm saying? And of course, y'all know Beyonce had a song called Halo, and everybody had their Masonic breakdowns of that, but we're not going to travel down that road. But do y'all know what the halo is supposed to represent? As far as why they try to equate halos with angels? Which, of course, the word angel is not even something that would be of Hebrew origin, because remember, the word for angel in Hebrew is malach. Now, angel by definition is a spiritual being believed to act as an attendant or messenger of God, conventionally represented in human form with wings and a long robe. But of course, you say their countenance. Does it represent a womb? No. I say when you look at it in Hebrew, it's a messenger, it's a malachim. I read this to you. Halo, a disc, a circle of light shown surrounding or above the head of a saint or holy person to represent their holiness. Now, one of the things you have to realize is, according to Catholicism anyway, halos weren't even associated with angels to begin with. Now, this is a circle of white or colored light around the sun or the moon, or other luminous body caused by refraction through ice crystals in the atmosphere. Now, when you look at the halo in religious iconography, I always say that word wrong, so I'm sorry. This is a threshing floor or a disc. It's a nimbus, areola, glory, or gloriella in Latin, little glory. It's a crown of light rays, a circle of disc or light that surrounds a person in a work of art. The halo occurs in the iconography of many religions to indicate holy or sacred figures, and has a lot of various periods, and has been used of images of rulers and heroes and religious art of ancient Greece, Rome, Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism, among other religions. Sacred persons may be depicted with the halo in the form of a circular glow or in the flames of Asian art around the head or the whole body. The last form is often called a mandorla, which is an almond-shaped areola. Hold on. I.e. a frame that surrounds the totality of an iconographic figure. It is usually synonymous with a vesca, a lens-shaped mandorlas often surround the figures of Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary. Now, I've given you the answer. It's kind of telling you if you're catching on. Now, Sumerian religious literature frequently speaks of Melam or Melaimu in Akkadian, a brilliant visible glamour, which is exuded by gods, heroes, sometimes by kings, also by the temples of great holiness and by gods, symbols, and emblems. Persian mythology and later Zoroastrian philosophy speaks of a similar concept of Karvenia, a divine radiant power that has sanctified a king in his reign. It was more often depicted as a phoenix-like bird, the Simruk. Then it's got the ancient Greek. But I'm gonna tell you something. They'll go into all that, but you won't find nothing about halos in any ancient Hebrew text because a halo is nothing but representative of the sun, and more specifically of the planet Saturn. It is performed and founded from solar cults. The sun was man's first glory of God from astrotheology, and that's all it is just sun worship. And that's why they translated it because, Saturn's rings and all that stuff. And then they equated it to Saturn and they worship that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all it is. Because number one, you have to remember from a Hebrew text perspective, Yahuwah told you don't make no drawings of this. But also it shows you how they deified man. If you notice when they kept referencing these people, it didn't reference actual angels. It referenced man. The deification of man. So, like, when you look at this particular team and they're talking about the California Angels, they're really talking about the gods of men. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're going to put on the outset, and this is a way that how they do that. You know what I'm saying? You just going to look at it as this is a baseball. This is the same type of stuff like we were talking about the other day. You take the average person and you look at Nike. They don't know who Nikkei is. To them, that it's just sneakers. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. And then they ain't gonna go no further. You know what I'm talking about? So then it come down to when you have a particular perspective, you know what it is that you're looking at or what they're trying to purport. This is why you see that in Christian art so much. But this wasn't a Christian thing. It started in Samaria first. So why did I mention that for? Because what you see in Christian art and things of that nature is just the continued worshiping of the Sumerian pantheon or whichever particular society or culture pantheon you want to talk about. Because all these pantheons are intertwined. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing different. Same thing. It's the same thing. Then you won't get caught up on this is the Illuminati. No, you're gonna have more sense to notice. No, this is Sumerian and Mesopotamian culture and society. And if I go to Babylon, this is what it looks like here. And when I go to Egypt, this is what it looks like here. And when I go to Rome, this is what it looks like here. And when I go to Greece, this is what it looks like here. And then when we come over here into Western civilization and quote unquote the United States of America, this is how it's represented here. You know what I'm saying? That's it. And you won't get caught up in just making generalized uninformed statements because Illuminati and Masonry is a cop-out. That just shows the individual you're not versed enough on that topic to actually have a discourse on where this stuff comes from. So you just say, oh, it's the Illuminati. Oh, it's Masons. This stuff is before them. You know what I'm saying? They're co-opting the worship of the sun, moon, and stars for themselves. That's it. It's not hard. You know what I'm saying? Take the time. Nigga, read, goddammit. But what time it is? It's 10 o'clock. I gotta get ready to go to bed. I appreciate y'all. Bless y'all the house. All of you and them y'all shot. Y'all will come back on Shabbat, man. Make it do what it do. And yeah. And we'll make it is what it is, man. Y'all will until then though. All right, Clubhouse. I'm out.